Hey, what's up, BC? Always early. Hope you're doing good, man. Alright. I am just gonna jump straight on to Straight on. Oh, still got Star Pass open. Hey, what's up, King? Welcome, welcome. Welcome in, guys. So, a bit of a strange one, considering we normally do the podcast a little bit later on in the day. But we're going to start a bit earlier. And any moment now, I am going to drag Ivano into the voice chat with me. I just need to make sure that he's got the correct Discord role and such. Skadoosh. Alright, that's the right one. I will just drop him a message and make sure he is good to join. I don't want to just force him into it. Yeah, normally I have like the podcast interface up and everything, right? But today, since it's like a PvP thing, I'm thinking we might as well be in game, because we can probably talk and play at the same time, and even potentially demonstrate some things, right? If and when needed, anyways. Hey, what's up, Dread? This fucking guy. Hope you're doing good, man. Noble, hope you're doing good too. Excellent. Very good. Shalom. What's up, Jingles? You know, chilling and having coffee. You know, I've actually also got coffee. I also have coffee. I've also got rum. Got that ready to go down the hatch, you know? Gotta be ready. Gotta be ready. Ooh, let's go jump to the flagship, actually. Nothing like some coffee to wake you up in the evening. Why is the rum gone? Love it. Love it. Well, I got the Dreadforged Rancor decoration from Dread Fortress just now. That's probably going to go immediately on the GTN. 25 million credits. Of course it's going on. Give me my 20 million credits. Give them to me. God, sometimes you can't even sell something. Crazy. Congrats. Hey, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Nah, it's not exactly a big thing, right? We don't need that anymore. Got a couple of devices there that can be used for alts now. Excellent. Excellent. Be there in 5, just feeding the dog. No problem, no problem. Excellent. Not doing too bad with gear, you know. I need 3 more pieces of 344 recarting gear, and that is it. And that is it. That will finally be the grind over for my Juggernaut. You haven't played this since 7.4, has a lot changed? Not since 7.4, no, not really. I mean, you got the new lair boss since then, but that's about it. That is about it. New Galactic Season, maybe? I think it's got a reward on there for a mount. Yeah, this thing. So this mount. It's meant to be themed on Andor or something. Or something. Right? Ooh, there's a lot of raiding going on today. People are really trying to knock out those weeklies before reset. Hey, what's up, Alvin? Appreciate the sub. Dynamic encounters on 2 planets, that's pretty much what we got for 7.5, if I recall. Yeah, I suppose dynamic encounters as well. I guess that's new, in a way. Name Sparky, appreciate the follow. Hi, I'm a new player. I would like to know if I can only do class missions and not have any leveling problems, or if I don't have to do all the secondary ones and so on. You can pretty much get on just doing the solo story missions. You may need to do a flashpoint here and there if you find yourself a little bit underleveled, but you'll never find yourself needing to do too much secondary stuff. Especially if you're always rocking an XP boost, and if and when you log out, make sure you do it in a rested area, that kind of thing. And you should be able to just pretty much hit the main story. But yeah, as I say, every now and then you'll have to do something secondary. Just do like a flashpoint or something. And that'll normally catch you up. Normally. In the new armors when it is even close to SWTOR timeline. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that, Dread. We need some more of the Old Republic themed stuff. Or just original stuff. Yeah, it always is just a cash grab. They focus on the wrong things. They do seem to, yeah. They try to stay trendy rather than committed. That's part of the ratio anyways. Just scratches the surface, of course, but yeah. Yeah, so today's stream is going to be about PvP for the most part. We're going to be discussing the state of the game with PvP, what could be done better. Probably take some questions from the chat around PvP. Talk about the meta, how that's affecting the game and the gameplay right now. Pre-mades in war zones. There's a few things I think that we can cover today with PvP. And of course, if you guys have questions, we'll try to take them as much as we can. Hey, no problem. No problem, Sparky. Hey, what's up, Postulates? Welcome back, my friend. Hope you're doing good today. Hope you're doing good. Bit of an early stream today, I guess. We're going to be going for a while, though. Because we've also got BC joining us later on. and we're going to be talking about the project probably. BC's definitely going to talk about his cosplay outfit that he's got going on, because he's currently making a HK47 outfit that's being 3D printed and such. Very cool. Very, very, very cool. I don't think I've ever drank a coffee so fast in my life. Most of the Cartel Market Edition are made from new arrived players who joined the game because of Disney Plus series. Yeah. Yep. I can believe that. Some people are just also used to it being the way that the game is, right? And they just accept it, and therefore they just buy it. I think some people get stuck in that. We need to figure out what we're going to do for some rewards in the upcoming mount-off competition. I mean, I've got some ideas. I just don't know if they're any good. Like, I feel like mounts themselves should probably be the reward. But then I'm also thinking we could gift cartel coins. We could maybe even gift a hyper crate to the first place winner. It needs to be something good, right? If I wanted to do the expansions too, does the story end at a lower level or at the same level so I can jump straight into the expansions? I'm not sure if I explained myself clearly. I know you finished the story around 55. I know it's not really related to the stream, but I didn't know where else to ask. If anything, the moment you start hitting those expansions, you should start gaining more XP than usual. Again, as long as you're using the XP boost that you get from story rewards. Also, if you open up your legacy in the character perks tab, you can increase your class mission experience, which also accounts for those missions in the expansions. And this goes all the way up to, I think, 30%. So that's even more XP that you can gain just from going through the expansions and such. But if I understand you correctly, then yeah, you should be fine just doing that. Just once again, you may find yourself needing to do the odd flashpoint here and there. And to be fair, with you going through the expansions, you're probably going to be forced into a flashpoint here and there anyways. So you should be okay. Keep the XP boosts on. All good. All good. I mean, by the time you get to the current time of the story, what is it with? Like past Ossus, which is 6 point whatever. At that point in time, wait, no, sorry, when you get to Mech Shah, that's when you start getting like a shit ton of XP, like more than 1 million XP, if you do it right. Crazy amount of XP. Alright, looks like Ivanhoe is ready. Excellent. I'll go ahead and pull him up. Whoop. Come back, Discord. Doodush. Doodush. There we go. That should work.
Hello.
Hello there.
Hi. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you very well, actually.
Nice. Yeah, I was
Very
playing
good.
a bit with the Discord today, so I'm not sure about the mic.
I know that sounds great, to be fair, and you're also quite nice and loud on the OBS as well side of things, so that's good.
Great.
Hey, how are you doing, man? How are you doing?
How are you, man? Thanks for the invite.
Hey, I'm very good, thank you for asking, and you're more than welcome, of course. If anything, it's a pleasure to have you here. How are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. Yeah, I'm back from vacation and trying to get back into the rhythm of things, so to say.
Yeah. How long have you been back now? It's at least 2 or 3 days, right?
1 week. Yeah.
Ah, a week.
Exactly.
Damn.
Yeah. Came back last. I don't even know. Sunday. Yeah, Sunday, and then Monday was a. No, we came back on Monday. Monday was a bank holiday, right?
Yep.
And we came from Japan, so there was a 7-hour time difference.
Yep.
Yeah, that was interesting.
That's got to be a long flight then, right?
Yeah, I think the flight back was a bit longer because we were flying on an Airbus. It took a bit longer. 13 hours, I think, maybe 13 hours. Yeah, and then with the 7-hour time difference, basically we landed at in the afternoon, but local time where we came from was midnight. So yeah, I was
Damn.
quite destroyed the whole week.
I can imagine,
So, yeah.
dude. I can imagine.
Yeah. So
I hate traveling
normally
like that sometimes, to be fair. Like, I've done like 13-hour trips on trains before now, so I can't imagine it something similar on a plane. That's crazy.
Yeah, the trip was a little bit unlucky. Like on the way there, I was planning to sleep on the plane. So the night before, I was a little bit staying up extra long so that I would be tired on the plane. And I could sleep on the plane, thereby kind of counterplaying the jet lag, right? But yeah, that backfired spectacularly.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what they would be like or what the tips would be with that, because I've still never been on a plane, if I'm honest.
Okay, yeah. I'm not a frequent flyer, but I've been on a couple of longer flights, but never to Japan. So, yeah. So it's minus 7 hours. So basically, it's pretty bad. You're starting here when you're supposed to sleep, and then you land, and it's daylight, right? So your body is like, what the fuck?
Yeah, gonna be very confusing for the body clock.
Exactly. So I thought, okay, the night before I don't sleep, or I sleep only like 3 hours, and then I'm going to be super tired, so I must sleep on the plane, right? And then I get on the plane and I have the aisle seat, and that's already a challenge because I'm a little bit of a bigger fellow IRL. and I barely fit in those economy seats, and then every time when someone passes by, like they hit you on the plane because it's, so you wake up.
Yeah.
And also, I was next to a guy who apparently was suffering from like insulin shock, so diabetes. So he needed to go to the bathroom to get shots, and then they didn't have any more needles, and there was a whole big drama on the plane, calling a doctor, blah, 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 blah. And I was sitting there and thought, fuck, should have slept.
Yeah, he pulled the short straw with that seat.
Yeah. So I arrived in Japan on basically 2 hours of sleep in 48 hours. Yeah, the first day was mostly, but then I got 12 hours in the hotel, so it was okay. And now I'm pretty much back to normal there.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So just as well, like to clear that up for anybody watching, you mentioned that you actually went to Japan, but just to be clear, that wasn't for Star Wars Celebration event, right? That was just coincidental. You were going for a vacation.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Not to the convention, just a vacation. Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate that, Stefan. Thank you very much for the Twitch Prime sub.
Well, it was cool. Like, very nice country, actually. I like it.
Yeah, I would really like to go myself, to be honest. It does look like a beautiful country and a very interesting culture as well, just to investigate.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was surprised how clean everything is. Like, even in Tokyo, right? Which has something like, I don't know, 30 million people live there.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it's crazy big, but there's not a lot of trash, and that's like coming from Germany, where anyway I think cities are relatively clean, but Japan is like on a whole nother level, to be honest.
How did you find like the day-to-day interactions? Like, were the locals and people there kind of like friendly towards tourists, that kind of thing?
Yeah, super friendly. Honestly, like friendlier than any other place I've been. Right, I've been, I think, on all continents now, except for Antarctica. So I traveled a bit, and Japan is for sure S tier, I would say. Definitely S tier country.
Nice.
Like super polite people. I mean, of course, living there, I guess being as a tourist is quite different, but yeah, very polite. Everyone has a big smile, and especially the waiters, and there's always a bow and a very polite thank you and so on. So if you're being respectful, then they're very friendly. And I had a great time. I ate all the food, and
I was just about to ask you about the food.
Yeah. So I had a list. Like my wife, she mostly cared about seeing the temples and Mount Fuji and all of the sites, right? But me, I just went for the food. So I had a list of maybe 10 or 12 dishes I wanted to try.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
And I looked like which dish is best in which city. Read up a little bit on the food culture there. And that's typically how I plan my trips. So I go by meals, and so that's part of our itinerary. Yeah, yeah. The food is great. I for sure also S tier when it comes to food. And the people are amazing as well. So yeah, I would go back for sure.
Excellent. Any recommendations on the food?
I mean, anything, honestly. Like, you go to the smallest hole in the wall looking place, right? That maybe you wouldn't necessarily go to in another country because it looks kind of dirty even. And you go there and you get the best bowl of ramen you had in your life, something like that. So yeah, ramen for sure.
Hell yeah.
Very good. I didn't have a bad bowl of ramen anywhere. And yeah, everything is great, honestly. Like Hiroshima, great seafood. But they have this kind of pancake, okonomiyaki is called, which is like a pancake from some noodles and cabbage. And then they put different toppings like oysters, whatever you want. And they fry it in front of you on like a big metal plate. So I can see how it's made. And yeah, everything's super fresh, super tasty, like a delicious teriyaki sauce on top. It's hard
I
to
always
beat,
like
honestly.
it when you can see how
Hard
the
to
food
beat.
is made.
Yeah, and that's quite common there. So I mean, there's some places that say where that is part of the deal. Also for grilling, right? You can have a grill stuff in front of you, or they will do it. Great beef as well. So yeah, really everything is good. I mean, the meat is amazing, seafood is amazing. So if you like that, that's good. Noodles are amazing. We had all kinds of noodles, udon, the soba noodles, ramen noodles, of course. Yeah, and everything was good. Had no issues whatsoever. And
That's really good to know, man.
Wasn't even that expensive outside of some, right? The beef is of course expensive sometimes.
Yeah.
But other than that, for example, you can have dinner for 2 people with many starters and drinks for like $40 basically. Yeah. So
that's very good.
Yeah.
That is very
would
good.
recommend.
I'm just gonna turn my push to talk off so I can stop pressing this button. Find
Yeah.
this
If you're saying
silly
something, I can't hear you anymore.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not pressing it yet.
Hi, Dread. How are you?
Add a keybind. Voice and video. Voice activity. There we go. Cool. Awesome.
Sounds good.
That was getting very annoying pushing that button, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I stopped using that long ago.
Yeah, well, I kind of only turned it on for the other night because of the sake of Red Night. There was a few people in here. But yeah, no, it's good to have you on. To be fair, I think this is actually our first meeting, right? Even though we've kind of worked together in the past, this is, I think, the first conversation we're actually having together.
True.
Which is pretty cool. So to be fair, it's nice to actually meet you over here in voice chat. I do hear a lot about you, especially while streaming recently. You seem to be quite well known within the PvP community, whether that's for a good reason or even a bad reason, which we could definitely get into a little bit later on if you'd like.
But you have heard of me.
Yes, exactly, right?
Notorious pirate.
Love that. Yeah, so I've been quite excited to have you on, to be fair, just to kind of talk about the overall state of the game with PvP, especially since the whole ranked removal. And again, like, I know we kind of touched on this even with our own project before, but it's still good to just keep that conversation going, I think, because the removal of ranked seems to be still quite a large blow to the community, and people do seem to really miss that. So yeah, it's going to be good to have you here, kind of probe your thoughts on how you think things are going. But if you'd like to, would you maybe want to go through your own kind of little resume on the game, what you've been up to yourself, your own YouTube channel as well, of course. Don't know if you want to talk about yourself a little bit there.
Yeah, I actually have to think about how long ago I started now with the YouTube. But yeah, basically I started playing this game when it first came out, so on launch or maybe briefly after that. And started out as a just regular story player, I would say, and then in PvE actually.
Yeah.
And yeah, this one was my first MMO, so I never played any World of Warcraft or any of the earlier ones. So got in the game in, when was that? 2011, I think, right? When did it start?
2011 is when it launched, yeah, and then just as
Yeah.
on the precipice of 2012.
Yeah, so I started playing with a couple of IRL friends, and Imside started playing Assassin, was actually my first class.
Ooh, good choice.
So yeah, started leveling that to 50 back then, and then started raiding. So I think at the time there was only Eternity Vaults when it launched, right? There was no Karagas yet. So we did that for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think back then hard mode was the last one. So cleared that after a while with the guild that I was in at the time. Yeah, and then when I was done, there was kind of nothing to do, right? So I thought, what else to do? I did what most people did, maybe like try out another class. I think I played Sorcerer second. There was an Inquisitor main in the beginning.
Yeah.
And but yeah, when kind of the story was done, which I like back then enjoyed a lot, I thought, okay, well, there's no more content. I was playing pretty much, on a daily basis back then, let's say.
Yeah.
So then I started getting into PvP a little bit. And again, my first MMO, I'd never really played PvP before either, so it was really bad. But I enjoyed it just for the sake of it.
And was that with the same class as well, Assassin?
Yeah, I started playing Assassin, but at that time, I think Assassin was not the best. I think Concealment was a little bit the better stealther. They nerfed it then. I think when they still had the knockdown on the opener from stealth, and you had this meme of stun locking operatives globaling someone. But I started with Assassin, rerolled to Sorcerer, I think, because that was pretty strong back then as well. And then I played Sorcerer maybe for, I don't know, 2-3 months. I don't quite remember, to be honest, how the exact timeline. But yeah, long story short, when a couple of people quit the game because there wasn't a lot more content back then, right? There was really an end game content drought, I would say.
Yeah.
Eventually, I joined another guild, but that guild was a rep guild. So then I rerolled on rep side, started leveling characters again, and eventually became a Guardian main. So that was my first class that I mained for, let's say, a couple of years.
Right.
Before I got into PT. So yeah, so I started doing that on rep side, but then pretty much exclusively PvP at that point. So I think when Karaga's Palace came out, yeah, I guess it was with the Rise of the Hard Cartel, right? Played that.
Yes, I want to say.
I mean, it would fit, I think, with the huts and all of that. So I guess so. I'm not quite sure anymore, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go with yes.
Let's go with that. And that was actually the last operation that I really played, and then afterwards switched full time to PvP. So, but yeah, actually already before that played pretty much only PvP back then on the German server. Not so much the 8v8 ranked. I think my guild had, they did have a team for 8v8 ranked back then on the German server, but I was too bad to get on the main team, so I was on the B team. I was sitting on the bench, and sometimes got to play with the B team. But yeah, I got really into PvP, tried to get better, and found some mentors back then in my guild that were helping me try to kind of improve. And yeah, then got into arenas when that launched. I think I got gold in season 1, so that's nice. I have the Furious weapons from back then.
Very nice,
I can get now the replicas from. And yeah, so we played that for, I think, until maybe season 4, season 5. Transferred to the EU server, which was Toffen back then. Yeah. Transferred servers a couple of times when all the mergers happened and stuff like that.
Yeah, makes sense.
And yeah, and kept playing arena with different teams with varying success. Yeah, and then I think at some point when the ranked scene in arena started to kind of slow down, quit the game for a long time, and then came back a couple of times in between when the different expansions launched and so on. And then really the last comeback was with Onslaught 6. Wasn't even when the expansion launched, so I kind of just, I don't know, live when stuff happened.
Yeah. But
then when I think it was 6.2 or 6.3 launched, one of my buddies from back then that I met in the early days said let's try Star Wars again maybe. And started playing again with a couple of the friends that I made back then, and there are still some of them are around still today. I got back into the game. That was in exactly 6.3, I think. So towards the end of the last expansion.
Yeah.
And then got quite. I think that the new one was already announced. So the 7.0 was already announced.
Right. Okay.
So we thought, okay, let's start playing, gear up the characters, and then prepare for the next expansion. We're gonna play PvP, and then let's see.
Yeah.
And that launched. Obviously, there were a lot of changes. Me personally, as a PT main, I think I started maining PT in season 1 pretty much.
Right.
So also now 10 years ago.
Okay.
As a PT main, I was kind of happy with the expansion because PT didn't lose too much. And actually gained some talents that are quite OP.
Yep.
But in general, what did it to some classes? We can get into that, I guess, in a second. I had my question marks. And then I guess 7.2 came around and they announced the whole removing rank thing, which caused a lot of people to rage quit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of a shame. And I think at some point around that time, I started to think about, maybe I should upload some videos to YouTube because it was basically out of self-interest, right? Because when I got back into the game after maybe 5 years of break, I also forgot how everything works, right? You get back into the game, sure, maybe you still know your class a little bit, but you have no idea how the gearing system works in Onslaught, what all these mods were doing, and all these things, right? So I was watching some PvP guides from a couple of guys that were around there, Mark Biggs and Noble and Cease, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at least 2 of these guys kind of quit when they removed ranked or at some point in between.
Yep.
So I thought, okay, shit, there's a little bit of a gap to fill here, right? And if no one will upload PvP videos anymore, pretty much, or only few people, they'll be sad. So I thought maybe I give it a try.
Yeah, it's a good shout, to be fair, because without dissing the PvP creators too much, normally when you find one, they tend to be quite a strange person. Quite often, more often than not, they tend to be quite toxic as well. So when you have people like Biggs who actually came and made some comedic and actually useful guides, but then he disappeared because of the whole ranked situation being removed, obviously that really does suck. So it's cool actually though to have people like you step in who can make also just as cool guides. Obviously we also have Cease Faith making some pretty often Warzone videos and stuff, not necessarily guide based but definitely commentary based and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's nice to have good actual knowledgeable PvP content creators for once, because I don't know if you know this, but in the past generally PvP content creators are nothing but drama, or at least causing drama with each other, and I've never known if that was purposeful or not, but it's always been cringe to watch. I know that much. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I've been in the same boat a while back.
Yeah.
Because still on my channel, if you look, the first video was not 2 years ago when I started with the guides and stuff. So the first video uploaded on my channel was solely for the purpose of trolling our arena opponents back then, right? So our arena opponents at the time were the rank 1 group rank team.
Okay.
And we were, I don't know, maybe 1200 rated, right? So pretty shit.
Mm-hmm.
But we did beat them in 2 matches and made them rage quit. And they were also, fair. They were also known, let's say, trash talkers on the server.
I mean, if you're better, then you're just better, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can talk trash, right? If you're the best ranked team.
Yeah.
But yeah, we managed to beat them a couple of times, made them rage quit the game, and then there was actually the first video I made on my channel just for the purpose of trolling them.
Yep.
And so that's part of PvP, I think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Recently, I moved away from it a little bit because I think, I don't know, the drama creates itself. I don't need to add to that so much. But I think it can help if you have some rivalry between teams or guilds or whatever. To make things a bit more interesting.
Yeah.
But there's a fine line between, funny banter, trash talk.
Yeah, there always is.
stupid things. So.
Yeah. And I think that you ride that line depending on how serious you take it, right?
I mean, you can even take it very serious, right? But at the same time, there's a line that you shouldn't cross, in my opinion. And where that line is, I guess, depends on people and their background. But
yes.
Yeah.
That is definitely going to be a big part of it. I mean, I've seen all different types of flavors of people in this game, and I've seen how they behave in PvP and how they behave in PvE, and sometimes people are just like that. Like it's just their personality to be, what's the polite way of putting it, a rival, you know, to your opponents, and also have a bit of a spicy tongue at the same time. I think it's definitely okay to have that, but you are right. It's a fine line. It's a fine line.
Yeah. So yeah. So when I started with the whole PvP videos, I for sure did engage in some rage baiting, let's say, right?
Okay.
And some uploading some videos of, you know, especially when you play Power Tech, one-shotting some people here and there.
Yeah.
And that does get you, you know, some clicks. But yeah, recently I kind of stayed away from that because it's anyway, like I said, the PvP community I think is small enough.
Yeah.
So if anything, you need to try to bring people together a bit more, and that's why I've been getting more into organizing events, and even with the Discord server, right? I try to have a server there where everyone can talk, everyone can also fight and flame each other.
Yeah.
But in a way that's you know is as free as possible, because PvPers like to talk shit, and I think that's part of the things that how PvPers tick.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't cross any lines into, let's say, stuff that could get you imprisoned or at least sued. For me, I try to have a rather free speech policy, if we want to say it like that. So I think it's all fine. You can talk shit to each other as long as it maybe doesn't cross a line.
Yes.
And that's the important thing.
Yes, it's kind of like a common courtesy thing, right? And not everyone's got it though. Not everyone's got it. A mutual respect for your fellow gamer, but you can't really expect everyone to have it at the same time. Especially when you don't know how old people are sometimes as well, right? Because I often say to people on my stream when doing PvP that sometimes you need to be careful how you react to someone who's being negative, right? Because they could be super young. Like they could, for all you know, be 13 years old. And you could be
sure.
arguing with a 13-year-old on the internet. Yeah. So just to put it in perspective,
likely you are.
Yeah.
Most likely, yeah. It does seem to level off with age, let's say. But no, there's some people that are old and they still only look for drama. So
yes,
at that point,
absolutely.
Just ignore it and move on. But yeah,
absolutely. But from the sounds of things, you've pretty much been around to see the game go through all of its major changes, all of its ups and downs, whether it be PvP related or even PvE related. You do kind of fall onto both sides of the spectrum as a player, right? Like I've seen you do relentless replication on your channel as well. So,
I mean, because I have to, I guess.
Purely for the augments, right?
Purely for the augments, yeah. So if the augments weren't there, I, to be honest, wouldn't have played it.
Okay.
I've played PvE in this game, played PvE in some other games, but yeah. No, it's simply for the augments, which of course you need for PvP.
Yep.
And I think now they just announced that there will be another tier coming soon. So yeah, we get to farm the same boss again with some additional mechanics apparently.
Woohoo!
And I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I was trying to get into PvP. Into PvE. Maybe a couple of months ago.
Right.
And joined the raid team for that, but unfortunately on that raid team there were some people that apparently weren't happy with having me on the team. So when I signed up for the raid, they were like, yeah, we don't want to play with that guy. That guy is an asshole. And yeah, that's also part of the. Well, those were all PvPers, by the way. I'm not gonna name any names, but those were all people that we've played in the past in PvP.
That sucks to hear. You do get sore losers out there.
You do get a lot of sore losers, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. exactly.
Are you
And maybe
finding that
that's, you know,
happening to you a lot? Because that's kind of brutal.
I don't know. I think I mean, like I said, if you play PvP long enough, you'll make some enemies.
Yeah.
Simply because, you know, people don't like to get farmed. And if you play in a pre-made and you tend to win a lot of fights, some people do get mad and calling you all kinds of names. Even though you're just playing the game, right? So I do get some hate, I would say, but you know, not, to be honest, not that much. And on the other side of things, right, there's some people that in the past, you know, maybe had some drama with that, and afterwards came around, and I even had on my podcast or on my YouTube channel or on Discord conversations, and they said like, you know, I get it. It's when you that's what people need to understand, right? When you target someone in PvP, and maybe even like you focus them or you tunnel them, however you want to call it, is actually, at least in my case, nothing personal, but is more of a sign of respect, right? Like,
yeah.
Because if I target you in PvP, there's a reason. The reason is that if I don't, you're probably gonna destroy my whole team and outdamage me, and then, you know. So there's a reason. Like, I don't target any random noob for any reason.
That's why everybody goes for the Juggernaut first these days.
Yeah, Juggernauts are also easy to kill, to be honest, unless they're a tank. But let's say if there's a good player on the enemy team, I will for sure target them, just because if I want to win, right? And I had a couple of players that we faced regularly. I kept targeting them, and they got very upset about it because they took it personal. They think it's like bullying in a way, even though, you know, like that's the game. That's PvP, right? If someone targets me, how can I take it personal? It's a video game, right?
Yeah.
Even if someone only targets me the whole game, sure, like, yeah, okay, it's fine. At the end of the day, it's a sign of respect, right? Because first of all, it means that you know who I am. You're targeting me. Okay, either it's a sign of respect, or you're trying to make me mad and get a reaction and make me play worse or something, which is not going to happen. So then it's a sign of respect, and some people get that, some people don't. They just stay mad, and you know, then it's a skill issue, I would say. But I've had some people on the other side that have written me, and it's like, okay, I see you guys targeting me, but I get it. It's nothing personal. It's just the game, and then, you know, become friends with them. And some of them I play with now. So there's two types of people, I would say. You know, it's the kind of people that get it and that enjoy PvP, and there's like crybabies, and those people then you can just ignore.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, I think. It comes back to that old saying as well, right? Like, if you can't beat them, join them. So I think that's a really good thing that person did, like actually getting in touch with you, and then eventually you teamed up or whatever it was. That's a really good way to circumvent the issue, like right there. I mean, I would definitely consider doing that. Like, if I came across you in a Warzone, which I don't think I have done yet. I guess I'm kind of lucky to have not stumbled across you just yet. Unless we have, and I don't know.
Maybe I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah, but
I do sometimes look out for the Nate Dug, but I know you've got obviously plenty of alts. But Nate Dug is the one that I think I've committed to memory.
Yeah, that's my main. I do have some secret characters that I play on sometimes, but no second account or anything like that. So it's just because, like, if you upload videos and sometimes you stream, for sure you will find yourself getting more attention.
Yes.
Than if you're playing on an anonymous character.
Yeah.
But they typically last for a couple of days, and then people will target you anyway. Especially if you play like melee classes and you're in their face, they'll target you anyway. So
that's actually kind of true. I forget who it was who was actually talking about that before, but who was it? Somebody said it recently in a Discord call, but like when you're playing as a lightning sorcerer, you stick out as a sore thumb, right? Like you're all flashy, there's purple lines coming from you to the enemy, so everyone just looks at you and just jumps on you immediately. Versus like a madness sorcerer, right? Who is almost invisible unless you're actually looking.
I mean, madness has the force lightning that they spam a lot.
True.
So I think actually Sage is a little bit better. Sage, you're flying more under the radar with the animations.
Yeah, true. Big true.
But then I think Madness has little advantage with the way that Death Brand sometimes reapplies more. I don't know. I haven't tested that, but I heard Cease talking about it on one of his videos. So I think Madness might be a bit better in terms of game mechanics. Maybe like, I don't know, 1-2% better.
Right.
But yeah, if you wanna chill in the corner, play Balance Sage or even Telekinetics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Less
If
conspicuous.
if you really want to get like focused, then start streaming and play a melee class.
Yep. Which is usually what I do. I start streaming and then I
I've
go
seen
in with
you.
a Juggernaut or Assassin.
Yeah,
And then I just
yeah,
get
I've
bodied
seen-
immediately.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you wanna you probably know, but if any of the viewers want to get a feeling of how it is to be a streamer in PvP, it's kind of like you grab the hot ball in the middle of a big fight, right? You put this big sign on you that tells everyone, okay, please hit me. So that's the feeling I have every day when I play PowerTech.
Yep. It kind of is like that, actually. Kind of is like that.
It's a big difference. Like, I played this game for 10 years before I uploaded anything.
Yeah.
And the only guys that targeted me were basically maybe a couple of people that I knew from ranked or something. But it has for sure. Even though the PvP scene is a bit smaller now, maybe especially because it is a bit smaller now, with a lot of players quitting, for sure you have more people that recognize you and then they target you just because. But
Yeah.
it's also something you can abuse, right?
Yes.
So if
I
you know
agree.
they're going to chase you all the time, you kind of lure them into a bad position and then you pull them to the fire, or you just walk them around the pillar and one-shot them. So PowerTech is probably the best class for that, actually.
You know, I might have to try out a PowerTech at some point. I don't think I'd be as good as you, but I might have to give that a go. Is that AP you're playing, right?
I play AP mostly, yeah. I would say 90% I play AP, and then Pyro I play only if I want to try hard.
Right.
Because it is stronger, especially against like the Madness, Sorks, and Virulent Sniper that everyone is playing.
Yeah.
Simply because it has the 30% DR on, I think it has, dot reduction passively 30%, which is crazy.
Okay.
And then it has, of course, the 30% DR on Kolto, which makes Kolto an actual defensive cooldown, as opposed to, an AP, you pop it and you still get one shot anyway if there's 2 or 3 people on you. So so Pyro is probably better if there's like a series you're playing premade versus premade. But mostly I play AP just because I enjoy it. I play for fun mostly, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you got to play for fun as well, because otherwise there's literally no point in playing at all, right?
Yeah, and also most games are decided right now by just who has more damage and sometimes who wins the first fight. And then the rest of the war zone, the other team kind of respawns and just goes like west and east and stops fighting. So I find that many times, you just win the first fight, you run in, one-shot a couple of people with AP.
Yeah.
And then the war zone is basically won. So you can, the rest of the game, you can, decide what you want to do. But AP can win a lot of games in the first minute or so, yeah.
Yeah, so this does seem to be a little bit of tension around PowerTech, I think. I think some people are not generally happy with how they can be sort of used in some of the ways that you might even be describing. I don't even know too much about this myself, but just one that I'm seeing in the chat here, the Super Commander thing, this is an implant, right? Is that a super...
Yeah, it's a tank implant that gives you basically a 3-second invulnerability when you pop power yield.
Yes.
So it's a hard cooldown, which normally power techs don't really have. And just kind of makes you god mode for 3 seconds. But yeah, to be honest, I've only seen maybe 2 people play that implant at all, because it makes you lose damage, right? You lose about 600 crit.
Right.
And because it's a tank implant, it gives you some defense chance. It's not really that useful. So yeah, I play it sometimes because, again, I do get targeted quite a lot, and then 3 seconds of invulnerability every minute is nice. But yeah, you run it in arenas, sure. Yeah.
Pre-mage run, second wind. Second wind is another one that I've been hearing about. This is more of a universal one, but let's get your thoughts on this. So second wind is an implant that is going to increase your health. Sorry, not increase your health. It's going to recover your health by 20% for every enemy that is killed around you, and that can even be like from your teammates as well. And that's once every 8 seconds, I believe. What do you think to the effect of that in the current state of Warzones? Do you think that's a little OP for a pre-made group that can kind of roll through an enemy team, or do you think that is something that is probably fair game?
I never play this when I'm in a pre-made, because in the pre-made I have a healer, right?
Right.
So why do I need the 20% heal if my pocket heal is going to be on me the whole time?
That's a good counterpoint.
So the best thing for second wind is actually the movement speed, and because it gives you also 8 seconds of, what is it, 70% movement speed? I don't know, it's quite high. And basically allows you to one-shot a target, you get the buff, and then you get to gap close to the next target without using your hydraulics or using your leap.
Right.
So the heal is nice, of course, right? Like you play this implant if you're solo queuing, or if you're queuing without a healer, like let's say you're queuing with a tank, then you run second wind, because the 20% heal can add up to, you know, I don't know, 5k HPS if you're killing people.
Right.
But if you play pre-made versus pre-made, the other team also has a tank and a heal. Second wind is not that good because, you know, maybe people aren't even dying in that match, right? So it's good if you can get a lot of kills, and if you don't have a healer yourself. And otherwise, I would rather run like either a damage implant, or if you're the only frontline for your team, then you run super commando, just for more tankiness, right?
Right. So there are alternatives that you can take then, but I think the general gist of what I'm getting from what you're saying is that it's better to not sacrifice those things for the sake of less damage or whatever. You only want to be taking more damage in your war zones. Is that what you would say?
If you're a solo player, for sure you run second wind. But for solo, I would say it's the most broken implant in the game. And on every class that you don't really need the 2 implants for damage, you want to run second wind. Like it's great on Assassin, for example, right? Because Assassin only really has 1 good implant, which is Shadowcraft, and the others are kind of meh.
Yeah.
So if you're Assassin, for sure you want to get kills, you want to get resets, you get second wind. On Juggernaut, you have to give up the 10% melee damage you get from, what is it, Fearless Victor. So on Juggernaut, it's kind of like, do you really want to run it? You lose some damage, but you gain the movement speed, which is nice, and the heal, of course. So again, if I solo queue Juggernaut, I run it as well. Yeah. I don't know, maybe on Sniper, I don't really play Sniper or Sork, but you basically want to run it if you don't have a healer on your team, and if you're playing a class that's not super dependent on the implants. For example, I don't know, Operative has really good implants, right?
Right.
So on that class, maybe you already have heal anyway. You don't really need the second wind. But on PT, for sure, it's if I queue solo, I always run second wind. But if I queue pre-made with a heal and a tank, you don't need it, right? Because if you die, then your team's bad, right? Just get a better pre-made.
Love that. Yeah. Love that. Okay, I think that's pretty useful advice, to be fair. That might even be worth a video, you know? I think that could be a good little... That was one of my first videos on the channel, actually. Second wind is overpowered. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, 2 years ago, so it was probably, yeah.
Ah, that's gone under my radar then. I haven't seen that. But yeah, yeah. That's cool.
And it still is overpowered because they don't change anything.
Of course. Ah, dude, it's absolutely wicked that it's been so long. And there's just been nothing. Crazy.
Yeah, the only thing they do is remove stuff, apparently.
Yes.
So, yes. Yeah, hopefully they don't remove second wind now, because solo players need it.
You know, I only learned like a week or 2 ago that they actually removed bolster. Like I'd been going around telling people like, oh yeah, don't worry about story mode ops, you get bolster, it's fine. And someone was like, no, bolster's not there anymore. They took it out. And like, what do you mean? Well, like, yeah, they broke it. Like they broke it and then just deleted it. Like, what the hell? Yeah, I mean, crazy.
Some people might say they didn't break it. It has never worked properly. They never fixed it, right? There was always some bug with it, and I think there's still some bugs with it.
Yeah.
Which is also the reason, by the way, why lightsaber crystals and so on don't work in PvP, right? So if you see your stats in PvP, the crystals don't work, and that was because of an exploit that happened with Bolster maybe like, I don't know, a year ago, maybe a bit more at this point.
Oh, okay.
And there was so many bolster bugs over the years. I remember like the naked bolster
Right.
when it was better to take off all your gear and run to the war zone naked. That was a fun patch.
Nice. Nice.
And there was the Starship bolster, so you would have some basically the gear pieces that you could equip on your Starship would improve your PvP stats. That was also a thing. So
Oh, damn.
yeah, quite familiar with a lot of bolster bugs over the years, and now I guess they have a new system, which at least for level 80 is actually working pretty okay, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously I have no idea about the operation side of things.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I've been in quite a lot of operations over the past couple of weeks, to be fair, and things seem very different, but not in the way that you might expect with bolster being gone, I think. Like story mode ops are an absolute jerk. You can just completely ruffle stomp them. People are taking 7 DPS 1 healer these days, like to almost everything. And the absolute overwhelming amount of DPS like essentially breaks the bosses, so you can ignore mechanics that sometimes don't even pop up. Like on Corruptor Zero, he doesn't even do his unification beam anymore because you can just kill him so fast, which I find kind of hilarious at the same time. But yeah, then you move into veteran mode and the difference is quite clear. Like you actually have to start doing the mechanics. It seems to me that they've just increased the HP of everything by quite a lot in veteran mode, while making the mechanics hit a lot harder, so that you have to do them. I don't think bolsters affected that too much. If anything, it could even be in the same situation, like slightly better, because now story mode operations are genuinely a jerk, which is maybe how it needs to be, especially for people who are new to operations. I'm not totally sure if I'm in full agreement with that just yet, but maybe it needs to be that way after so long of the game being out. Who knows? Who knows?
I mean, I guess the idea for story mode is in the name, right? You want people to experience the story.
Yeah.
I think so that's fine. I think it's a bit of a shame that it doesn't really prepare you, I think, for if you want to get into harder content. So I don't know. I didn't play a lot of PvE, like I said, outside of the first 3 operations maybe, but with the new boss, for example, this XR53, I don't know, the story mode and the veteran mode is really not the same thing, right? In story mode, it's just basically you can do whatever as long as you do 20k DPS, he's gonna die.
Tank and spank, pretty much.
And even with the circle, it doesn't really matter what you do. But in veteran, if you don't know the mechanics, then, you know, it's probably gonna turn out very bad for you. You're gonna get stun probed in acid and your whole raid is gonna die of the green stuff. So I don't know. I think story mode, the idea is that it kind of also should prepare you for the harder content.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it does really. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you should have mostly the same mechanics, right? And just a bit harder, DPS and HPS checks.
Yeah.
So you need to basically do the same thing, but just play better. And but with I mean, you can't forget the whole gear, the whole game is kind of tuned to item rating 330, right? That's when they released the last raid. So long ago, the gear back then was at rating 330. I think people maybe don't remember that, but now we have 343, right? We have so many more stats.
Yes.
Which means that damage is crazy, and
it is.
You can even take like one really good healer to some of the master mode operations, and if your DPS are good enough, the really good players, they still clear it, right, with one heal.
Yes.
In the hardest operations. So that probably tells you that PvE also needs some changes, even though I'm the wrong guy to ask on that one.
No, I think you are right that it does need some changes, and it seems to me that it's with the older content as well. Like if you enter Duxon or R4 Anomaly in any of those difficulties, then you're gonna have a pretty rough time still. Versus going back to some of the others, and it tends to get quite a lot easier. In terms of DPS checks and healing checks, maybe even more so with healing, right? Because as you say, people are taking one healer to even some master mode raids, which is very true. That healer's not me, because I almost failed to heal an Eternity Vault veteran mode today, so I won't be trying that again anytime soon. I think I'll stick to DPS and tanking. But yeah,
Yeah, it can be challenging to heal though, that one, because yeah, there are some HPS checks, right? If people don't move on Garsh, for example, and he does the jump, and people get knocked into the lava and so on and so on.
Yeah.
So if you're solo healing, that's interesting for sure. And then yeah,
it is interesting, especially with no implants or no set bonus implants, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And then in on the PvP side of things, I think we do need a bolster, because I keep having teammates with 306 gear from the last expansion.
Yes.
And
preach it, Ivan.
They're actually they're doing the opposite there, right? So instead of bolstering up those stats to be comparable at least to, let's say, the entry level gear of the current expansion, they're nerfing that gear.
Yes.
So if you have an item rating, what is it? I don't know, below 324 or something like that, you'll get an old gear penalty if you queue for PvP. So you will have less stats than are actually on your items. Yeah, let's just say even if you're God's gift to Star Wars PvP, then you're gonna have maybe 20% less stats than everyone else, which is gonna be hard to overcome. So yeah, that's not great.
And it takes a while as well, right, to even grind out the full set of PvP gear.
No, if you do it right, not, to be honest, no. Well, yeah, that's why I made like so many gearing guides, because when I started, I was gearing through PvP.
Right.
And that does take a long time, because back then you only had one weekly quest per week, and now you get three, right?
Yeah, you get 3 now.
But back then you had only one weekly that would give you one upgrade chest and a couple of those WZ1 commendations that you can use at the upgrade vendor. So if you only gear through PvP for PvP, that takes, I don't know, weeks.
Yes.
But yeah, that's why I made the quick gearing guide for specifically for PvPers. Just what you have to do is you run one conquest basically, get a whole set of, what is it, 324 green gear, level up the earpiece to 340. That takes maybe 1 hour doing heroics, right?
Yeah.
If you do it properly. So the entry level gear is very cheap. And then what you do is you just queue flashpoints. You can even do that solo if you want. Like you can run veteran mode, hammer station, red reaper, something like this. And you just kill the first boss, because how the drop system works in the game right now, right? It basically checks whether any of your slots are, I think, what is it again, under the current minimum item rating, which I think is 320 for PvE as well. Yeah. So basically, if you have a whole set of green conquest gear, you're over the cap, and then the game will just randomly pick a slot to give you a drop, right? So it can be any of the 14 slots, and it will at random pick one of them. And if it picks the earpiece, which you upgrade to 340, it can actually give you a blue earpiece at 340 rating.
Yes.
And that can happen in 10 minutes if you're lucky, or it can happen in I don't know. Sometimes I was grinding 2 days for the boss like 80 times to drop me that item set, right? It's just RNG, 1 in 14 chance. But then you take that to hide and seek, deconstruct it, and you have instant 340 gear. Of course, except for the implants and so on, right? But you get the mods, you put them in your gear, you are 340, and then you can go from there. So that's the fastest way to do it.
We actually did that exact method on this stream not too long ago, and I actually think that was directly because of your video.
I mean, heavily inspired by some guides I found out there from SWTOR, Dram, and others. But yeah, I try to do. I don't invent everything. I just try to put it in the shortest way that people can understand without too many questions.
Yeah, and I mean, it's good to have those different formats as well, right? Because I'm always a visual learner. Like, I can read a guide for sure. Like, I'm not an idiot. But if you're not showing me it, then I don't care. Like, so I can go to your video and just watch it and be like, okay, there, this, that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so much easier and simpler to understand. Especially when you have a seasoned player who actually knows what they're talking about with the game and doesn't kind of, beat around the bush with certain things, right? Or talk too slow, or explain too much, go into too much detail, because sometimes that really hurts a guide. when you go into too much detail. That's just completely unnecessary. Like, right-click the elevator button, and then click this. Like, no, fuck off.
Yeah, you got to keep it as short. Got to keep it as short as possible. But at the same time, I think I made another version of the gearing guide because the first one left some things out that probably needed to be explained, and then people kept spamming the same question over and over.
Okay, so what was that?
So, to be honest, I forgot. I don't know. It was something about what you do later after hide and seek, right? When you get like how to continue the gearing basically after you get the mods.
Okay.
So I added that in, and just from the first guide I made maybe 2 years ago, got a lot of comments, made the improved version, and that's probably going to be there until they change the gearing system at some point. But yeah.
Yeah. So your way you would recommend people to gear up for PvP is to use the hide and seek method. Get the blue modifications and the purple enhancements.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fair enough. And would you advise that over the Fire Resilient upgrades?
Over the what upgrades?
The PvP gear. So rather than going straight up to the PvP gear and getting the full set of 336 purple gear.
Yeah, yeah, of course, just because it takes longer. So yeah, the best way to do it is simply get the mods from hide and seek. You can go directly for 340 because it will not take you longer to farm. It's the same, right? Whether you basically upgrade that first conquest item to 336 or 340, it doesn't matter. You just do one conquest, you get the whole set plus one item upgrade to 340.
Yeah.
Run the flashpoint, get the mods, and then you need one purple item to get the enhancements unlocked basically. And that purple item you can get through either Nephra farm, you can get it even from Eternity Vault, can drop some purple earpieces as well.
Yeah.
Or you do one PvP weekly, for example, and you get a purple item from the hide and seek box, but that will be only 336. So it's I recommend you farm some Nephra maybe, just level up one of the pieces. Yeah. And then you get the mods and that's it. And then once you have 336 or 340, whatever you want to do, basically your gear is good enough for the rest of the content in the game. Then you can be in PvP without anyone
complaining about your gear score.
Anyone complaining about your 257 gear score.
Yeah.
The only other thing that you need to do kind of is get augments, at least the entry level, which is actually one of the good things they did in the recent patch, that they introduced some blue augments that are good, that are affordable and not bugged. So you can buy those. They're like 1 million a piece. You can craft those yourself. They
fairly
don't
easy to
require
craft, I think.
any attack fragments. Yeah. That's why they're so cheap. And once you have those augments, the item rating 296, so almost as good as what was the best in slot from the previous expansions. Put those on your gear, and then you're good to go for any content in the game, right? With that gear, you can farm it in, if you're good, 4 hours, if you're fast and a bit lucky. But worst case, it's maybe like a weekend. Depending on the credits. But yeah, the augments are fairly easy to get, and then you're pretty much good. Even if you want to do master mode operations, you can clear that with 340 easy.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you're a good player and you're playing a good spec, you shouldn't really struggle too much. And as well as as long as you've got your accuracy where it needs to be, you should be okay. Should be. Unless you're an Arsenal Merc, maybe.
Arsenal Mercs, they do need some buffs, huh? They're not that great.
So I hear, but they've got a fat crit, so I don't know.
Yeah. Give me 1 sec. I gotta just go to the bathroom quick.
Hey, no problem, man. No problem. The old blue augments didn't work at all, right? I'm not sure about that, Toff. I'm not sure. Can you elaborate on the 336 and 340 gear in PvP? I've been told that 340 is basically nerfed down to 336. That you may as well run with 336 gearing. Well, I think the difference is, Darksaber, that the 340 rating is just easier to come by. Or the modded gear anyways. It's just easier to get to that point than it is to get to a full 336 purple rating. So you can go with either or, but the 340 modded gear is just generally a bit quicker. Well, it is going to be quicker. Yeah. Also, I'm just going to be right back myself, just while Ivanhoe is taking a quick break. So let Ivanhoe know that I took a quick break myself. Let's be right back. Okay, I have returned. Alrighty. Whew. Man, it's warm out. It is warm. Veteran PvPs are also coming in with 334 gear. Everything scales back down to 336 anyways outside of weapons. Yeah, I believe that's true. Everything scales down to 336. You can run 334 in PvP, but I would change out the head and chest for 340. Ooh, I wonder why you would do that though. What's the reasoning behind that? Hey there, new here. I have a dilemma. I've chosen Jedi Knight Juggernaut. Although I'm happy with the combat when I press and give you, I still have that Guardian stance, holding the bat with two hands, hitting the pinatas. That is disintended. It is ruining my mission. That doesn't sound intentional. Sounds like it didn't swap properly. I would just make sure you actually swapped. Because the Juggernaut stance is meant to be more, like, brutish versus Sarisu, you know? See a lot of PvPs in 334 gear to 340 gear, but I just wanted to be sure if this makes a difference PvP, or is it just a 336 regardless? Yeah, I think you're fine either way. You're fine either way. Hello, welcome back. Welcome back. Just got a few questions there about PvP gear. People are asking the difference sort of between wearing 340 versus 336, and then even 344.
Yeah,
sort
people
of
keep
with...
asking that. It's there seems to be, well, some myth that 344 gear or 340 gear or whatever gives you an advantage in PvP. It doesn't. Not whatsoever. It gives you one extra power. One
extra power.
Yeah, if you want to call that an advantage, sure. Farm Nephra for 2 weeks, like I've done, just to test it. But
Right.
you can run 336. It'll give you 99.9999999 the same stats as 344 gear, right? So yeah, if you want to do PvP, you don't need to farm any of the higher gear, at least right now, because you know, they might change that in the future. I guess then you have to upgrade all your PvP gear as well.
Yeah.
The nice thing with the modded gear is that you can, you know, easily switch the mods out. So if you want to play different classes, that's nice. In your stronghold duels, it will matter. I mean, not if you're doing it on the Rishi stronghold, right? So
That's what I was about to bring up, actually. People, I think you've mentioned this before, you can use the Rishi stronghold to see your PvP stats, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because Rishi is basically a PvP area, right? The stronghold, at least. So they have this PvP zone in the stronghold. So it has kind of the same bolster, if you want to call it, as if you load into a PvP match. So if you want to check your stats, you go there. Don't do it on the fleet, because in the fleet, for example, you will have, let's say the alacrity breakpoint 2000, what is it, 54.
Right.
If you have that pretty much exactly, you go to the Rishi stronghold, and then you have, you know, less than enough alacrity, right? You will have, what is it, 1900 something. So yeah, if you want to optimize for PvP, for sure you got to check it on Rishi, because otherwise you might mess up your stats.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, yes, if you duel on the Alderon stronghold, sure, get 344 PvP. 340, 343 the gear from, you know, the Rakata stuff. But yeah, if you only want to do PvP, you find a 336. Whether it's the Theresian gear or the mods, same stuff. Yeah.
So how does this match up in terms of open world PvP then? Because obviously not much of that gets done anyways. But
I just wanted to say, what open world PvP? I mean, the only open world PvP I had in the last 2 years was on Onderon, when found some bioanalysis mods in the PvP section, or the PvP instance, and I think I met a total of 2 other players in that instance.
Right.
That were also farming the same route, and then that was the only open world PvP I had in the last 2 years. So yeah, ganking on Illum, yeah. I mean, the Gree event is nice, but even that is kind of slow the last time. So yeah,
I haven't done that in a while.
Used to always sit in the middle there on the pylon in the Gree event and one-shot people from stealth with assassins. But I mean, you can still do that, but yeah, there's not so many people anymore.
That's super toxic.
I mean, it is a PvP zone, so it's the name of the game.
Many people logged out because of that, I bet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The bolster there is interesting because your HP is quite low compared to the damage that you take on Illum. So, you know, if you play 2 Deception Assassins, you can pretty much one-shot anyone that's not, you know, like a Sorg with barrier up, or maybe a tank.
Yeah.
And just anyone gets one-shot. So there are some videos of that, I think, also on the channel. Or even with an NG Sniper. I think NG Sniper can completely one-tap someone. So the damage is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But the HP is much lower. So you know, take 3/4 of someone's health bar with 1 explosive probe.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny.
I think, as Ocelot is saying, it does definitely further burst builds, and I think that might be true with most level synced planets, to be honest, because I've even still done some stupid duels on the front of Korriban steps, and even at level 10 you can use like 1 burst maneuver from a Deception Assassin and kill your enemy in 1 move, which I know is a ridiculous example, but yeah, I think it really does favor the burst side of things in those zones.
Yeah, for sure it does. Yeah.
Definitely.
So yeah, it's I don't know. It used to be more fun back in the day. Like, there was a lot of PvP happening on Tatooine, for example, there in the Outlaws Den. So that was cool. But yeah, I think nowadays I don't even know if most people know that area exists in the game, which is kind of an open world PvP zone where you can go and it's basically free for all, so you can attack and even players on your own faction.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun. But at some point they had some, I think there's an introductory quest at least, and at some point there were some rewards you could get for that. But yeah, it's, you know, basically if you don't incentivize it, then people will just not go there. And that's why open world just doesn't really exist. I guess
Ain't
the
that
most
truth.
open world PvP maybe it's like the conquest stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't really do a lot of conquest, but I remember like Beo talking about it when he was on my podcast, how they have like conquest and they try to pull the commanders, and when there's another guild on it, they basically PvP the guild right there.
Yep.
So yeah, that can be fun, I guess.
I had a slight example of that on the PTS when we went and tested dynamic encounters. Because I think I'm quite like you. I try to be in a PvP zone as often as I can, because I also enjoy those random encounters of coming across another player and, you know, going and trying your luck with them just cause.
Yeah.
But yeah, that happened on the PTS, which was actually quite surprising to see, because, you know, it's the PTS. And normally there isn't many people there. But maybe there's something to that, you know, maybe there is some slight open world PvP that we're missing out on because we don't go to necessarily those conquest events. But is that the developer's fault maybe for putting that content with something that you wouldn't necessarily do? I mean, as you say, you're not really interested in that, I don't think, right? You wouldn't really want to go do those Dark versus Light bosses too often, I imagine.
I mean, if there was PvP to be had, I would go for sure. Like, also, I think with the dynamic events, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could lead to some really fun PvP encounters.
Yep.
If you would force people to actually PvP, right? Because right now you go there and there's no PvP servers anymore, right? So on every server you can choose whether you want to be flagged for PvP or not.
Yeah.
Which is fine, right? Some people don't enjoy PvP, they don't have to do it. But back in my day, there were PvP servers, right? Where everyone was PvP flagged by default.
Yeah.
And that means, you know, every time you were doing a quest on any planet that's, you know, not faction locked. So some of the starter planets that you can't access, of course, if you're Imperial, for example. But other than that, once you get to Tatooine, for example, it's fair game, right? Like you're doing any quest, you can get one shot from stealth from an assassin that's level 80. And that was the case back then, right? I mean, level 50 times.
Yeah.
Obviously now they introduced level scaling so that theoretically you can fight back, even though that's not really the case, right? Because yeah, even if my stats are scaled down to level 50, and you're level 50, I'm gonna have my level 80 implants that are still gonna work, right? So it's not a fair fight anyway.
Yeah,
but
and you've got all the rest of your passives from your discipline path and your abilities.
Yeah. So it's I'm not saying it's a fair fight or anything, but I think the point was back then they were PvP servers, and everyone would basically be flagged for PvP at all times by default, right? And if you had that together with dynamic events, and those dynamic events then had some rewards that would make players actually care for them. Because I've played them on PTS just to get the log mount finally.
Nice.
And other than that, there's not really a reason, right? The rewards are not nice. I mean, for tech fragments, it's not efficient to farm them. So as a PvPer, why would you go there? But if they would have made that into something that PvPers care about, right? I don't know, maybe give more tech fragments, which you need for augments anyway.
Yeah.
Then that could have been a nice thing for PvP, because, you know, I think planetary, just in general, like visiting the planets is nice, because right now I'm just standing on a stronghold.
Yep.
And the other times 90% of my game time is spent on the fleet waiting for an invite.
Yep.
Waiting for a match to pop, so I might as well do dynamic encounters at the same time, right? And be in Tatooine, get some of that vitamin D going.
And they could do something pretty easy with that as well, right? Like if you play dynamic encounters or anything like that while in a PvP zone, you get extra rewards for that or something, because you took more risk in doing the mission.
Totally. Yeah, it wouldn't even be that hard, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really the key, right? Because yeah, obviously we can all dream about suggestions for PvP, how to improve it, and yeah, we should have 5 more classes and 10 new maps, you know, but let's be realistic, right? With the current resources, at this point, I'm happy if they do anything like small changes. So I think anyone thinking about suggestions how to make it better needs to be like realistic and think about what can you implement with a minimum of resources, and then also, you know, with a minimum risk of messing something up, because
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, the dev team that we have obviously has a certain level of capability, and expecting them to be able to do God's work with PvP is probably not incredibly realistic, especially considering the things that they've already done in the past, right? I mean, if patterns are going to tell us anything, it's that when something doesn't work, or if it breaks, they tend to just straight up delete it, or find some way to get around it and make something new. Yeah, so it's good to have those good expectations in mind, and you're quite wise as well to bring up the fact that they would only really do something if it was like minimal effort, which it's not to call them lazy. It's purely because they're doing it in a smart way, right? Like the way that this game was coded, everything is connected to everything. The interface is connected to so much in this game. It's kind of freaking weird. I've had a few people try to explain to me as well how this freaking interface works, and I think one of the best ways to explain it might actually be that it's almost like, do you know when you're streaming and you're using OBS and you have your scenes and then you have your sources, and in your sources tab you can add something like a browser file, which would be your alerts or something like that. The user interface for the game is kind of like that. It's kind of like a browser source which runs over your actual game. Okay. And it interferes with the games like so freaking much. Like you can be doing the 24-man content in Dark vs. Light or whatever, and you hide the interface and suddenly your game gets 50 extra FPS. And it's like, what happened here for the interface to cause such a drag on resources? Like what happened? Absolute madness.
Yeah, I should try to play some games without interface, and then see what it does to my FPS. That would actually be interesting. Yeah,
to see if it's a trend in the gaming community. Like, does interfaces put a stress on optimization of a game? You know, it's a weird one. It is.
Yeah, I mean, I think all the buffs and debuffs do for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, especially in PvP, you'll find yourself having, you know, sometimes 10, 20 debuffs or something like that, which are all updated, you know, constantly and reapplied, and then, you know, can dispel them, cleanse them, and then they get reapplied and so on.
Yeah.
And it's constantly basically running in the background and takes some of the computing power of your system away, which is I guess why, even if you have a very modern setup, your game will still, you know, like sometimes drop down to 20, 30 FPS in group content. And that's just, I guess, how the game is built. I've been trying to optimize it as good as possible, but
that's it, right? Like, no matter what you do, you always get minimal improvements, like at best, really.
Yeah, I mean, considering how old the game is, so comparable games from that era with a modern system, you get something like 500 FPS nowadays, right? And in this game, you drop down to 20 anyways, because it's just how it is.
Absolute craziness.
But unfortunately, that does not seem to be on the priority list, or at least not very high, because I mean, they've been doing a couple of character modernization and additional lighting effects for the planets, right?
Yeah.
So basically looking into making stuff look nicer, but that's not what we need for endgame content, I would say.
No, we need things to run smoother.
Yeah. Because otherwise you just have slideshow gameplay.
Yep.
And, you know, especially if you are playing content where it actually matters, whether you're standing in the void or, you know, 1 centimeter outside, then it would be kind of nice if you have like a fluid gameplay, right? At least 60 FPS or something like that. So, and ironically, I think game has gotten worse over the years, because I used to play this on a laptop for, you know, the first 5 years of my SWTOR career.
Yep.
And I don't remember having such bad performance back then. I don't know. Maybe that was just because I was used to it. And now, like with the proper gaming setup, and obviously having played other games as well, so you see how smooth other games can be. Then you go back to Star Wars and you're like, oh, 30 FPS, that's how it looks like. I don't know.
Yeah, I get what you're talking about. I can recall having a pretty crappy computer, to be honest, and I still think the performance I had on that computer is comparable to the performance I get even on the one that I'm using now. It's not like the game's been through huge game optimization over the years. You can go back on the patch notes like as far as 2012, I believe, and you can see that they or were at least saying that they were working on improving game performance or game optimization, backend systems, however you want to call that. But yeah, like it doesn't seem to be very evident over the years how many improvements have been made or what exact improvements have been made to anything. Like we had DX12 come in, 64-bit support, and we've had plenty of breakdowns of that and comparisons, and again, like the improvements were minimal at best and barely noticed by the vast majority of people. If anything, I think probably the biggest difference, right, when they went to 64-bit was the launcher issues. I think a lot of the launcher issues were rectified at that point in time. How about you? Did you notice anything significant before and after those updates? Because obviously as a PvP player, you might have been quite keen on seeing that come to the game when they announced it, right? Like I know it was a few years ago at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I kind of did a before and after test of the 64-bit and found that for me at least it didn't change anything. So it was minimal changes at best, but yeah, really nothing that, you know, couldn't be explained with just like RNG, because PvP matches are so different, right? Some of them is just basically one team is fighting, the other team is just running to objectives, and you don't really have a lot of combat going on. So then your FPS is going to be great. But as soon as you're in a big fight, like 6v6 or something like this, and there's some lightning swords and NG snipers, then your performance really drops because of all the voids on the ground and animations and debuffs that those classes have. And so yeah, Warzones are very... I mean, it's not RNG, but it's like... Yeah, no two Warzones really are the same, right? So if you really want to compare performance, you need to measure like hundreds of games.
Yes.
And with the 64-bit, there was nothing that I noticed. I think at some point, either with that patch or shortly after, it might have been that patch actually, they took out the very low shaders that a lot of PvPers were running. So the graphics option where you had very low, what was it? Yeah, shaded textures, something like that.
Yeah. And now you can't do that anymore.
Now you can't do that. At some point there was some thing you could do in the config files to still kind of get that, but now maybe not anymore. And yeah, so if anything, you could argue the performance has gotten worse over the years instead of better.
Yeah.
And, the only thing you can really do is buy a better CPU. So yeah, I recently, after, I don't know, 5 years or so, upgraded my CPU again.
Yeah.
And now I do get better FPS, but like still shit compared to other games, to be honest. So
yes.
Yeah.
It's never going to be any better or too much better, I don't think. And the biggest comparison I made when they did the 64-bit stuff was going and checking out the 24-man content, right? Because that was going to be a real stress test. And that stuff is still absolutely shocking. Like, if you've got 20 sorcerers there or something, then yeah, absolute slideshow, sub 10 FPS. And some people's computers even crash still when going to go do the Nightmare Pilgrim, for example. The world boss on Voss. Yeah, crazy stuff. 100 versus 100 on Hill, and damn.
Yeah, I think it's just the engine is not made for that, which is probably also why they didn't put more focus on open world PvP, because they knew that anyway the engine couldn't handle something like the... What game is it? Is it Guild Wars, where you have like server versus server PvP even?
Yeah, that's Guild Wars 2 is World versus World, they call it. And it's essentially like a mega server of PvP. All the worlds can play together, which I find awesome.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool. And I never tried it, to be honest, but it does sound cool. And I think in this game would probably not be possible because of how the engine is. But yeah.
Guild Wars 2 is a really fun game. It's got a lot of different ways in which that you can play the different characters. But the cool thing that I like about Guild Wars 2 is that it actually gives you this sense of progression with your character. You actually have to improve it using what they call hero points, but I guess we'll just call them skill points for your class to keep it simple. You know, you would go around doing different things that would get you those points or whatever, and spend those into your build until eventually your build is good enough to go do the end game or whatever. So yeah, it's a pretty fun system that they've got over there. Quite fun, especially for PvP. And it's very community based as well with PvP, so large groups going in for that quite often. Pretty good game. Good game.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, here in Star Wars, they tried maybe something like that with the 8v8 premates that they launched, right? When they brought out, or when they took out ranks and they launched the new PvP seasons.
Yeah.
In 7.2, the PvP revamp. They never really announced what was the thought behind that. But I can only assume maybe it was something along the lines of, you know, bringing guilds back into PvP, right? Because they were basically allowing people to queue as a group of 8 for PvP, which, you know, 10 years before, after they removed 8v8 ranked, it has always been like a maximum of 4 players in a premate. And then they took out ranked and they brought the 8v8 back. So it's they never officially, at least what I've seen, even mentioned the thought behind that, or like what was the reason. But I guess it was maybe some ideas of, you know, giving maybe even PvP guilds something to do, queue with more than 4 people. I don't really see why they would do that, to be honest, because I mean, even when they did that 2 years ago, when they didn't announce it, it was somewhere hidden in the patch notes. They never even talked about it on the stream. I could see there was going to be a big disaster just because of how the game was at the time. And if you all of a sudden allow 8-man groups to queue, well, people are already complaining about premates in PvP anyway. Yep. And whether that's justified or not, you know, if you have 8-man grouping together and queuing together, worst case was a bunch of randoms, because maybe there's only one 8-man premate, you know, in the queue at the time. So it will put them against 8 randoms or 8 solo players.
Crazy.
It's not going to end well. And of course it
Definitely
didn't. It did not. There were maybe a couple of games where we had it 7 versus 8, and those were really fun games. But the majority of times as an 8-man group, you were in queue for 20 minutes, half an hour. And then, you know, you would run into a couple of smaller premates or solo players, and it would be really boring and frustrating, especially for the solo player side. So yeah, not fun for anyone.
It can still be pretty rough even with the 4-man premate, to be fair.
Oh, of course. Yeah, but that was always part of the game, right? So they had 4-man premates from the beginning of the game, and you know, I made a couple videos on that. It does get people very emotional when you talk about premates, but at the end of the day, I do maintain my position that premates itself are not the issue. The bigger issue is actually the matchmaking and how it works. And if you fix the matchmaking, then you could leave premates, you know, as they are with 4 players, or maybe. But you need to look at the roles, and the big issue is of course also the skill gap. When you look at the players, because
bringing that up, right? Because it's a pretty important one. And it's okay us kind of talking about it and going, oh, you know, they should do this. But how exactly could they do that? So how do you see them being able to fix that skill gap between the average player? Let's take yourself, someone who's more seasoned in PvP, and we'll go against someone versus someone like me, who is way more casual in PvP. How would you want the developers to decide when and how we are matchmaked together? And let's say we're in premates. Let's say you've got a premate full of Ivaners and I've got a premate full of Centrals.
Yeah, that's the point, right? So premate itself is not the issue, because like if I queue in a premate with, let's say, my guild, for example, we'll be queuing as a group of 4, and your group as a queue of 4 as well. And the game will try to match a premate against another premate. So that's a check it does. Mm-hmm. It will check the roles that are in queue, right? So if we, for example, queue as like a standard, let's say, arena comp, so we have a tank, a heal, 2 DPS, it will try to match us against another pre-made that also has a tank, a heal, and 2 DPS, right? So because unfortunately the PvP scene by now is relatively small and there's no cross-server PvP, so it will only look for players that are on the same server. If it finds a group that has the same roles, it'll open a match and throw us against each other, right? Pretty much irrespectively of how geared we are, how experienced you are, any of that, right? So then you have matches where you have 4 people that have no life, like me and my friends, and have played this game for way too long, pretty much full time, have fully geared and optimized stats, and are in Discord, coordinating our targets and all of that good stuff, right? Playing meta classes, all the things. And you go up against a guild that's maybe trying PvP out for the first time, right? So how's it going to go? Yeah, it's not going to be fun for the guys that are trying it out for the first time, right? So that's how that's going to go. And how do you solve that? Well, I mean, other games are solving it by having something that's called matchmaking. So you can do that in different ways. And the first thing is the role check, right? So you make sure that both teams have the same number of support roles, for example, right? And you will see that is actually working code in the game, that if my group has a tank and a heal, your group, or at least the matchmaker, will try to also give you a tank and a heal. Or maybe if there's no tank in a queue, and you queue with a healer and 3 DPS, then you will get a second healer, so that both of our teams have 2 support roles. So that's already good, but 2 issues with that. The one issue, of course, is that there's no real measure of, let's say, skill in PvP that you can make sure the teams are equal, right? So in ranked in the past, you would have something like a rating.
Yeah,
and
we had the leaderboard.
Many games have some MMR, right?
Yeah.
And in this game, I mean, the devs have said that there is some kind of hidden MMR that they're not showing, but that they're using to make sure the teams are balanced. Not explaining exactly how it works, right? But from looking at the data and from just many players playing the game and say anecdotal evidence, does seem to be related to your win rate, for example, right? So if you're winning a lot of games, then over time you will find that your games will get slightly harder, right? Because you will get players on your team that have lower win rates to kind of equal it out. So that's what people have found in Arena, for example, right? If you queue for arenas and maybe you win your first 10 games, 20 games, you have a win rate of 70%, then players have reported, first of all, the queues take longer. So it takes longer for them to get put into a match, and also the games get harder in the way that they will have players on their team that maybe have a 20% win rate because they're just new or they don't have gear or something like that. So there is something with the win rate, but now comes the toxic part, right? You have players like me who don't really play to win like the objectives and just play for the fun of it, just play for the fighting. Yeah. Which means that my win rate sits at, let me check right now, I think 52%, right? So that means, it's not particularly high. It's pretty much average. And this means, that more often than not, I will get, even though we're queuing in the pre-made, I will get maybe another pre-made on my team, which are also experienced PvPers, right? So the matchmaker goes by the win rate, but because like damage farmers and PvP premiers that don't really play to win, their win rate will not be what it should be, right? So basically we'll get easier matches, and the matchmaker doesn't really know that I'm a very experienced PvPer, right? Because it doesn't really take into account some of the other stats that maybe it should, right? So maybe, it should look at how much damage do you do, for example, right? Like what's your average DPS? That's one thing that, can balance matches more, right? Like, do you die a lot? Do you get a lot of kills? I'm not saying that's the end all be all to make a great PvPer, right? There's a lot more to PvP than just farming damage. But, if you have on my pre-made, you have, let's say 3 DPS, they're all doing 15k DPS on average. And on the other team, maybe players are doing 2k DPS. Yeah. Then, that says something about the relative experience of both teams, let's say, right? Yeah. So you got to take into account more more things just than, yeah, I mean, or maybe the other ones are just playing hardball, right? They are just playing the objectives, which is fun as
I
well.
guess.
So,
Yeah, fair enough.
so you cannot go by DPS either, right? It needs to be like a mix of different things, which is what makes it complex. And that's probably why they decided not to give us too much details on how it really works. But yeah, I think it's just going off win rate and group composition. And that's, of course, yeah, quite easy to abuse.
Yeah, I suppose if they did actually say what it was in clear terms, then people would actually start abusing that, wouldn't they? Finding a way to use that to their own advantage.
But people are already doing that, right? So you have, for example, other things you can do, right? So you see some groups maybe queuing 3 DPS and 1 support class instead of like a tank heal and 2 DPS. Because, if another group is queuing tank heal and 2 DPS, like I said, the game will try to balance out the support classes. So my team has a pre-made of 3 DPS that are playing together and will get a tank anyway, right? It might be maybe some random tank that has never played the game before, but will still have a guard, let's say.
Right.
And your team will have a pre-made tank, which of course is better, but it'll only have 2 DPS, let's say, right? So my team has a little advantage because we have 3 DPS that all know what they're doing. So that's a way that you can still game the system. Some people do that. And there's, of course, the whole like queue dodging thing, people declining queues. Which means that then other players are kind of joining matches that are already in progress. And that's quite annoying, leads to a bunch of other issues.
Yeah.
They try to address that a little bit. But I mean, the queue declining, not really. I think they've addressed without mentioning it in the patch notes. They I think one of the last patches increased the penalty for leaving a war zone. It used to be, it used to be 5 minutes. Basically, you get a ban. You cannot queue for 5 minutes if you leave a game as a penalty for leaving, basically. The really annoying thing is that it also is applied when you get disconnected.
Yes.
And there's no disconnect protection or anything. So that sucks. But yeah.
Double-edged sword with that one.
That's the thing. And I think now it's 15 minutes for your first leaving / disconnect. Yeah, I think it's back to 15 minutes. And then the second one is 1 hour. So.
Ooh. That's quite a punishment.
I mean, 1 hour I'm doing something else. So.
Yeah.
Luckily, I've been pretty blessed with my connection, but yeah. I mean, it happens sometimes, right? And of course, let's say if you're maybe on the losing side of a PvP match, right? You got unlucky matchmaking, gonna get farmed 15 times, or you can leave the match and wait 5 minutes. Maybe you're gonna leave and wait 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But if it's 15, or if you get into the next match and there's the same pre-mate on the enemy team and your team is playing pylons and you're the only one trying to fight, maybe you log out, right? You're not going to wait 15 minutes, or you're not going to wait 1 hour for sure. So yeah. So that's an issue for sure.
Yeah, it's going to push some players away. Definitely.
Yeah, it does for sure, and you can see it, right? Like current patch, to be honest, the queues are probably as slow as I've seen them. So. Yeah, I queued earlier. I think I was in the queue for 15 minutes solo.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know what they need to do, to be honest. It seems that every change they makes it a little bit worse for PvPers. So maybe I should hope for no more changes. And maybe I should hope for just some form of content that brings more players to the game. Because, if there's more players in the game, then I guess more players will also try out PvP, which... And that actually fixes some of the issues, because if you simply had more players playing the game, you would get faster pops and you would get more variety, because if there's only 30 people queuing, then you're gonna run into the same faces every game pretty much. Sometimes
consistent games with the same experience, with the same people doing the same damage, and Whereas if they opened it up with the kind of world v world system or whatever, and had PvP all connected to one mega server, in terms of war zones and arenas, that could be quite a big change for the PvP community.
I mean, that was always the promise they made a while back, 10 years back probably at this point, right? That they were looking into cross-server PvP, and that would be great for ranked. So you basically could have players from EU fighting players from NA and different servers, and obviously many issues that come with that. The biggest one being the the different ping that people would have, right? Like, really depends where you put that server, because in PvP, whether you have a ping of 20 or a ping of 120 does make a difference, especially if you want to encourage competitive play, let's say.
Yeah.
So unless you want to put that server somewhere in Iceland, it's going to be an advantage for, one or the other, like for the EU or the NA side. So maybe a more reasonable idea would have been to have, maybe one big PvP server for EU and then one PvP server for NA.
Yeah.
Like many other games are doing it. And then you could have, people that are queuing right now on Tulak Hot, and not sure how active Leviathan is. I don't really play there on the French server, but
Same. Don't go though.
At least you could have, let's say, if you only do it for PvP, right? I mean, at this point, probably server merges. It's more realistic, but I guess back in the day, if you would have mixed PvP queues somehow, so that you could have players from T3, T3 M4 versus the groups from Toffen and the Red Eclipse, without actually needing to transfer servers. And, with transferring, you also destroy guilds and stuff like that, because server identity, I think, is nice. It's good to have. But at the same time, if you have PvP, and especially if you have ranked, where back then you had ranked and you give top three titles globally, but the players are only competing with players on their own server, it's a bit, I mean, you had some players who got top 3 titles because they were on very easy servers.
Yes.
And just played hundreds of matches against, French role players, let's say. No offense to French role players, but there were some people that transferred specifically for those purposes.
Yep.
And that's a bit of a joke. Cross server would have been nicer, but at this point, probably merge them. Have one EU server and one NA server. I think it's time.
Yeah. To be fair, I think that's a good shout. Because I don't think we have a huge player base anymore. I think it's quite clear that we have a small yet consistent and loyal endgame player base, with just this huge influx every now and then of story players who just kind of log in, play for a bit, and then log out.
Yeah, whenever there's a new content patch or a new Disney show, right, people want to play Star Wars. Yeah. And this is the Star Wars MMO, so people come back. I for sure noticed that also on YouTube. So, I don't see why not, right, at this point. I mean, I play sometimes on Tulak Horde. It's even worse than on Darth Malgus with queue times. So
yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, a lot of players actually went to Starforge now, because that's still the biggest server in terms of population, I think. So a lot of PvPers also from EU are playing on Starforge just to get faster pops, right? Like, even though maybe like the match quality is a little bit worse on average, simply because you get faster pops and you have more games happening. When sometimes you're in queue here for 20 minutes and there's just nothing popping. So then you have players that prefer to play on Starforge, even though they maybe have 150 ping or something like that. So
yeah, I've seen quite a few people doing that, and streamers doing that as well. I think Dread, who was in the chat earlier, he plays quite often on Starforge for that reason, right? And Darth Malgus has quite long queue times now. Yeah.
So I think you got to do either server merges or just bring out some content that gives people something to do, right? Because it's been a while, let's say.
Yeah, I was really hoping they would have done another expansion by now. We've been sorely due one. Sorely due.
Yeah. I've seen you talk about this, and you said you don't think you don't see it happening this year.
No, not this year. I can't see it happening this year. Especially, well, the main reason I say that is because they didn't announce it as Star Wars Celebration, right? Because if they were going to do it, then that would have been it. Yeah, like, absolutely. So I can't see it being this year, and with it being next year, that just doesn't look great. But whatever it is, whenever it is, it needs to be fucking huge. It needs to have so much stuff in it to bring players back. I feel so bad for the PvP community, because you've been teased with this PvP revamp, right? Which The crafting revamp, like what the fuck happened to that? Anyways, PvP revamp, right? They're like, oh, you know, we'll change this for you, we'll make it better, whatever it is, just to remove the rank system and give you a PvP freaking battle pass, freaking Fortnite style, even though it is free to play, right? Like, that's besides the point. They removed ranked, they removed something that was actually near and dear to the PvP community. And we all know as well, like, the moment they did that, all of those ranked players, the ones who didn't quit the game, went straight into the regs queue and just started ruining the days of all the players who were used to just the casual Warzone experience. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, you guys had to go somewhere. But what did that fix? You know? And now we're stuck with this matchmaking issue of what's fair and what's not fair and how many pre-mates are fair. Yeah, it really does suck, and hopefully they do figure something out with that and actually listen to the seasoned PvP players, because that is one of their biggest issues, let's face it, is communication and listening to feedback, and actually taking that feedback seriously, right? Because sometimes they'll listen, but they don't actually hear it, you know?
Yeah, no, I don't think they give a shit, to be honest. I mean, they did have Mark Bix on the content creator team back then, right? And they announced the removal of ranked, and apparently he told them, like, don't do that, guys, but he's going to quit if they do that. And they went ahead and said, yeah, oh well, so be it. So clearly the decision was made, and even though people had plenty of feedback, I mean, yeah, it's that feedback basically needs to happen 6 months earlier, right? When they're thinking about, should we implement that? How's the design look? Because, I mean, those planning cycles are probably at least on a quarterly basis, let's say, right? So by the time they announce it, everything is already somewhere being tested on an internal PTS. So it's too late at that point. Yeah. The only thing that changed is if there's like a really big shitstorm, like the character modernization stuff. But even that, I mean, that was rolled out anyway. Even though there were, 60 pages of forum threads, people get really mad about it. Yep. And now they're spending the next 6 months of the roadmap rolling that back, instead of maybe working on some other things. So even though they have so many negative feedback, they went ahead with that anyway, because probably the cost would have been too high, because it's, like you said, it's a bunch of spaghetti code connected to the legacy bank. Yeah. And if they would have rolled that back, that would have probably cost, Bolster to break again or something like that. Yeah. So so I don't know if that's realistic. I mean, clearly they have decided that rank needed to go. I don't even know what kind of reasons decided, but I think it was just the combat styles, and they couldn't figure out how to do the rank rewards when all of a sudden people could have multiple classes on one character.
That's a good point. But it would only really make more sense, I think, if they actually replaced it with something else. Like, it's okay saying removing it or whatever, but then you've got to put something in its place. And they said it was going to be a revamp, right? There is an RE at the start there. It's a re-something, but they just deleted it. So it's not true to their original sort of statement, is, I think, the biggest thing here. So maybe they're not done with it. Maybe they are. I kind of wish they would hurry up and do the crafting revamp so that we have another kind of avenue of content to look at and go, oh, okay, so they did the crafting that way and put that much effort into it. We can kind of use it as a measuring tool now for anything else that they may or may not do. But yeah, just to me, I don't like how it's gone down. It seems a bit fishy. A bit of a fuck you to players, if anything. It's like if they just removed master mode operations, right? Like that would be fucking huge. Like there would be so many people who would just be like, fuck you, we're leaving. What's this? Such and such. Maybe that's ridiculous, but it's got to be comparable to some extent.
Yeah, in a way, it would be exactly that, right? But to be honest, I mean, the last operation they released is also almost 2 years ago at this point, right? So a lot of those master mode players have moved on anyway to other things.
True.
So if they would announce now that they're removing master mode, I mean, yeah, there would be, would be players complaining, but probably not as much as on the character modernization threat
Yeah.
or something.
Yep.
So I don't know. At this point, it's kind of BioWare removing content or Broadsword removing content. This is par for the course, I would say, and almost expected. So that's why I'm saying I'm happy if they announce nothing about PvP, because it typically gets worse whenever they change something. So yeah, last class balance, I don't know, is it like a year ago? And I mean, to be fair, like the PvP seasons itself, the battle pass thing it's not the worst idea, right? To kind of have an on-ramp for new players, maybe to get interested in the game. Like, why should I care about PvP if I don't enjoy it for the sake of it, right?
Yeah.
It's because of the rewards, for example, right?
Yeah, I don't mind it as an in addition to type of content,
Yeah.
but the rewards
Yeah.
on it do sometimes suck.
Yeah, the rewards are shit. I mean,
Yeah.
the biggest one was like the four med packs that you can get, right? And
Yeah,
those med packs don't even stack with your regular med packs, so
So
you can kind
annoying.
of throw them away. But you
literally.
already have 5,000 off anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So battle pass in general, I mean, good idea. I think you could make it in a way that players would actually care, right? If you put some rewards on there that players really need, like let's say OEMs, RPMs, right, which you need
Yeah.
for the augments, or just put the beginner augments on there as a reward that you can play, that you can get by playing, right? And
Yeah.
and then maybe people care about the wins at least when the season starts.
Yeah, or even
because
the
the rewards
augment
actually-
schematic would be a good one as well.
Yeah, the schematic, why not, right? Like, why can't you get it through PvP? Put it at level 30, or what's the last level, right? So it maybe takes like a couple of weeks to grind,
Yeah.
and then you get the augment schematic, or you can get it on day one if you do the boss 20 times, right?
Yeah.
So it would be, I think, a fair trade-off and give PvP as something to play for.
Yeah.
And then additionally, you could have could still have some form of competitive gameplay in there, right? Whether you want to call that ranked, or whether you simply, like what I was talking about earlier with the matchmaking, right? Whether you have some number that apparently they already have that's tied to maybe your Warzone win rate. Maybe it can be tied to your average DPS over the matches, or your kill death assist ratio, or something like this, right? So something that measures objectively like how good you do in PvP that players can compete for, right? Because at the core, PvPers, at least when they play the game long enough, want to compete. They don't just want participation trophies, right? That you can get by AFKing in a corner. That's maybe some people, but for me, that's not really like hardcore PvPers that just play for cosmetic rewards, right? You essentially, right, the idea is you want to fight, you want to compete, you want to improve, you want to prove that you're good, right?
Yes.
And you can't do that if you just have a participation trophy that anyone can get.
Yeah.
Even if the rewards would look super nice, right? Which of course they don't, but even if you had the best cosmetic armors in the game, right? If everyone can get them, it's worth less than if it's like an exclusive title or something, right? And that could be something as simple as having some exclusive rewards for players with the highest win rate at the end of a PvP season or something, right? And then all of a sudden, people would care again about tryharding in Warzones and trying to win games, maybe, right? If you have like a super cool title that you can only get for one season by playing PvP or something.
Yeah.
So it's really simple, but I think they simply don't understand PvP enough, or they don't care. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the two.
You probably nailed it
Other-
with both of those.
Yeah, maybe both. Yeah. They don't care
Yeah.
because they don't get it. They don't
Yeah.
get it. Yeah.
Yeah. They used to do cool stuff. I can't remember how long ago this was, but actually, it was when Arenas first came out, I think it was. They did a competition in the game, and whoever won the competition was going to go into a 4v4 versus the dev team.
Ooh.
I don't know if you remember that one, but that was a
I
cool
would love
event.
to do that.
That was a cool event. And they would never do that these days because they would get
Nah.
absolutely decimated.
I mean,
Absolutely
back then they probably-
ruffle stomped.
Back then, they probably got ruffle stomped as well, but
I think they
I mean,
did. I think they did.
Yeah, but even then, it would show that you kind of engage with the community and have a good laugh at the end of the day. Like,
Yeah.
that there's no problem to get ruffle stomped, right?
Yeah.
No dev really, like with few exceptions, is the best at the game that they create, right? It's fine, but
Of
yeah,
course.
to have an event like that would be cool, right? Or even some BioWare sponsored rewards for like a tournament that players organize, right? I know that
Yeah.
Snake, for example, back then It used to be the operative class representative when they used to have like class representatives and ask for feedback, right? And he made some dueling tournaments. Apparently, they supported him with some Cartel coin that he could give away on the for the winners of the tournaments. Something simple like that, right? Would already be like a start that they could easily do to get some people interested in PvP. But it seems like we have to do all the work ourselves, unfortunately.
Yeah, these days it tends to be that way. There's a bit of a weird dynamic they have now with content creators. Not that it wasn't weird to begin with, but certainly over the years it's become a lot more linear versus adaptive to the people in the program. It's more about the higher ups now and how they want things to be seen, having a good reputation or whatever. So they don't necessarily like engaging with people anymore that have a critical voice over the game. Yeah, so a person like Snave was very lucky to be able to even have that connection to begin with. So that's to his credit that he was able to do that. But yeah, unfortunately, they don't really do those kind of things anymore, which does suck, because as we kind of touched on as we began the episode, right? PvP sort of comes hand in hand with that critical voice or that banter, if you will. And the developers certainly don't understand that particular vibe from the community, I don't think.
Nope.
And I know that from personal experience as well, of course, as you can probably imagine, or as you may know. So yeah, they're not very open to feedback anymore, or open to working with people who aren't necessarily the kind of yes men that they are looking for, which is very unfortunate. But it is what it is, and you know, as you were saying, it's kind of on us now to make things happen, and some of us do. I know you kind of mentioned that Snave does things, and that's very true. I know that you did something with Snave quite recently. You did a tournament, and that was very cool.
Yeah, we're gonna do another iteration actually. Maybe next weekend. Let's say I wanted to post a sign up earlier on my Discord, but we'll basically just have some arena tournament. Some kind of competitive gameplay needs to be in the game, I think, even if it's not supported officially. But yeah, we'll have some friendly matches, let's say, with fair and balanced teams. And that's a cool thing that's actually in the game is the challenge mode, that you can have these custom matches, let's say, right? Which I think also a lot of players don't know about probably. But yes, if you go on the PvP queue, there is a PvP challenge mode, which I think they launched at some point when I was not playing the game.
I think it was 6.0 that came out.
Yeah, that was probably when I was on a break still. But yeah, so apparently you can do guild versus guild matches, and then you'll have like a win and loss history, which is, I think, not really a thing that anyone uses. But yeah, the skirmish mode is kind of cool, because basically how it works is you make a group and you can challenge another group simply by, /challenge and then put the character name of the, say, enemy group leader. And it will put you into an arena or Warzone match. You can choose, like, depending how big your groups are.
Right.
Versus that group, right? So rather than like waiting 20 minutes for a queue pop, you can just have the match start on demand, and then, it'll not give you rewards, but you can play against and basically make like custom games if, people know that from League of Legends or something. So that's cool. Like, you can use that if you're maybe in a guild and you want to practice PvP, you want to practice arenas. Theoretically, you can make like your own 4v4 games and just have like a friendly match. And we use that basically for, to have some sort of competitive game. So we will have, some of the former ranked players that have been on the game for a long time in my Discord, and we make like teams with like a random number generator, just so it's like fair, and try to balance them so that both teams have a heal, both teams have not 5 power attacks, but a little bit balanced setup, and then we play against each other just for fun, basically. And
nice.
Bragging rights, which I think is important as well. Yeah, the importance of bragging rights.
Bragging rights are always something that's held to a high esteem in PvP.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, we're doing that. I mean, we did some war zones for the first 2 tries, I guess, and that worked quite well, I must say. So I was happy with how it went. I think the players, most of them, enjoyed it as well. So we'll do another iteration now, maybe do arenas this time. Do some 3v3 arenas, and then I'm kind of the cameraman there, so I get like a good perspective and commentating the fight.
Nice.
And we'll have some 3v3 action, which is also interesting because it's a bit of a change of pace to what you normally have, right? With like, so the game is quite different if you have tank, heal, and 2 DPS versus 3 DPS, for example. It's a different classes that are good versus different classes that are good in the other setup. So
yeah,
something a little bit different.
They are fun to see as well, to be honest. I know we talked about it before, but I'm still very much wanting to do a type of PvP themed event myself. Whether that's an open world PvP event or even a 1 versus 1 dueling event. Not quite sure how that's going to go down, but that's still very much something I'd like to do. But yeah, the community is very niche. I have definitely been spending like the past few weeks, maybe even a month or so now, sort of getting to grips with the community again in PvP, meeting different people, hearing some voices, especially around the state of the game and such. One of the things that I have been hearing from quite a lot, and again, I don't even necessarily know exactly what this means because I'm not totally up to date with every class in this expansion. I think I'm mostly familiar with it at the minute. Sorcerer, Juggernaut, Marauder, Assassin, which are my usual suspects, to be fair. But something I'm hearing about PowerTech in particular is something to do with a double mass AoE taunt, and I'm just wondering if you could talk me through that one a little bit and what exactly that is.
Double mass AoE taunt.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you gotta fill me in. I have no idea what you're talking about, to be honest.
Okay, so basically there are people in the community who think there are, I don't really want to call it an exploit, because again, I'm not totally in the know with these things just yet. But there are things that you can do with PowerTech / Vanguard, where you're able to get a damage reduction or something, and it can be used twice without the game intending for that to happen. I don't know if that's a thing or not.
Okay. With the mass taunt.
Yes.
I haven't really heard of that, to be honest. So yeah, if that's an exploit in the game, I don't know about it. I think the thing that is really annoying that they introduced recently is actually the stealth scan thing.
Stealth scan?
So yeah, the stealth scan, right, which is actually now called something like Advanced Terminator Droid.
Right.
And that's a PT thing, so I'm not sure if people were talking about that.
Okay.
But that's basically a new skill, right? I mean, stealth scan used to be a thing for ever since I think the game was created. Used to be a basic ability of Commando and power techs, mercenaries, and so on. Which just simply revealed stealthers.
Right.
And sometimes like routed them depending what spec you were. And they took that out and changed it, put it in the combat style tree. And then with one of the recent patches, they basically gave it some, let's say, additional effects, right? So stealth scan is back, has a new name, and depending on what class you play, has like a secondary effect. So if you're mercenary, for example, you spec into that, I think it gives you stun damage reduction and a slow, right, in the stealth scan in the area that's on the floor. And if you're playing a power tech, it will still have the AoE slow. So I think it's like it's not that big of a slow. I think it's like 20%, something like that, maybe 30%, but it's basically an 8-meter radius ground targeted AoE slow. And the second effect is that it debuffs accuracy.
Yeah.
Which can be quite toxic actually, because if you have maybe it's a power tech and a Vanguard, to be honest, I don't use that skill because I think it's kind of breaking the game in a way. And it's, even though it's an ability that the developers put in the game, I personally don't use it because I think it's a little bit like, it's unfun.
Right.
Because for PT, it gives you this 20% accuracy debuff for everyone that's standing in this void, which is rather big, right? 8 meters is quite a lot. And if you have 2 power attacks, unfortunately, I think some people were saying that stacks. So then you have 40% accuracy debuff, right? Which basically means you will miss 40% of your attacks, which basically means you are doing no damage whatsoever, right? Unless you're very lucky. So and that affects yellow damage as well. So it's not only like an accuracy debuff that some classes have that mostly affects, white damage classes. It affects everything. So it's quite toxic. It's basically like having a diversion with much better uptime because, yeah, I think it has 18 seconds cooldown and the effect lasts for 15, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Actually, I need to check because I didn't play that in a while. But yeah, it has 20 seconds cooldown and lasts for 15 seconds. So, yeah.
So there's a few things that can be used in the war zone to be either toxic or slightly exploitive, you would say. I mean, that's not exactly far from the truth all the time there, right? There's usually always something.
Yeah, I mean, that's not an exploit again because the developers put that in the game.
Yeah.
But I think they were not really thinking about how that would affect the game because basically means you have more than 80% uptime of that accuracy debuff. And if you have 2 power attacks, now it's 40%. Means that if you're playing a Juggernaut, a Marauder, or a Concealment Operative, like where you need to be in melee range, I can just stand in my stealth scan and you can basically never kill me unless you force push me out or something, someone pulls me out of that. Because, 20% or 40% accuracy debuff is just overpowered. So.
And does that stack as well for everybody who uses it?
Apparently, yes. Ooh. So apparently it might be like a power tech and Vanguard thing, right? Because there may be separate abilities with separate debuffs. So you will have 2 debuffs basically, and some debuffs are unique, so you cannot have them twice, right? So for example, if I give you like a 50% slow, you'll get another 50% slow. You're not going to be slowed by 100%, right? Because some debuffs are unique, or maybe like movement speed was a bad example, but yeah, let's say in this case, some players have said it does stack, which maybe it shouldn't. And then you have 40% accuracy debuff. You can basically stop playing the game at that point if you're a DPS. So, which is one of the reasons also why, if you play that on a tank, for example, like on a power tech tank, the enemy team basically doesn't really need to play melees at all because they're not going to do anything. Because like power tech tank already has oil slick anyway, which is an accuracy debuff and a very, very strong slow. And then if you have this stealth scan as well, you can just kind of stack in there. And, your enemy Marauders, enemy Juggernauts will not be doing any damage anymore. So that's one of the reasons why, at least on Darth Malgus, most players have swapped to, some of the range specs, like the snipers and the sorcerers, for example. Because they don't need to worry about that, right? They can just cast from 30 meters. They're not going to stand in your stealth scan. So that's point. One of the Good reasons, point. At least. One of the reasons why.
I'm going to look out for that. I did not know this about Power Techs and Vanguards this expansion. I'm glad you told me this information, Ivan.
Yeah. I mean, sure, just don't engage them, but sometimes you can't, right? Like, sometimes you want to fight on the objective, and there are some spots in the game where, like, I don't know, Void Star doors or Void Star close to the spawn, right? Even in Civil War, like if you put it right on the in Grass and Snow, if you put it somewhere right on the node, like how are you going to avoid? Like my healer is going to kite through the stealth scan. What are you going to do, right? You're gonna just wait until my stealth scan expires, right? So yeah, if you know how to play around that, and you also have a tank who roots you, pulls you, all of that good things, forget about playing melees. Like there's no point. It's a ability that's simply too strong with how low the cooldown is, and shouldn't be in the game. So yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty OP. I think that also explains a scenario I was in a warzone not too long ago where I was trying to hit someone and they were taking 0 damage. Yeah, I think that might explain what was happening there.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you can still die through it, of course, because 20% is only 20%, right? So there's still an 80% chance that you hit. But again, if you have maybe multiple power techs, if you have a power tech tank or another tank who debuffs your accuracy anyway, then it's going to be very hard to play Carnage Marauder, for example, right? Which pretty much has like 80% white damage. So yeah.
Yeah, sorry, the dog was barking. I'm not sure
Oof.
if Olivia just came home or not. I'm not sure if that's what's happening. She may have just pulled up outside. Anyways, we've been going for just over 2 hours now, and I still haven't done something with you. So, Mr. Ivanhoe, I would like to challenge you to a duel.
All right.
So let's do this in your Rishi stronghold, maybe? I know you've got a Rishi stronghold.
Yeah. Can I
Hell
choose
yeah.
what class I play, or do you want to choose what class I play?
You bring anything you like. I'm bringing my Juggernaut, I can tell you that much.
Okay.
So you can have fun just ruffle stomping me, but I'm challenging you anyways. I would like the people to see just how good you are at PvP and give
I
you
respect that. I respect
give
that.
you a moment to shine in a 1v1.
Okay. Let's see. Juggernaut, huh? I'm not going to play Power Tech. Power Tech is actually not good into Juggernaut because you can do all kinds of nasty things with Reflect and such. So,
Actually, I'm not
let's
spec'd into
see.
Saber Reflect, so you're safe there.
For 1v1, you probably might want to. Let's see.
Yeah,
I
my
was actually gonna
PvP
do
life
a-
is usually taking advisories from people.
Yeah, I was going to do a 1v1 tournament yesterday, but then unfortunately that got cancelled. And I also had some other plans coming up. But let's see. I have prepared a little something. Let's see. Where's my gear? Maybe I'll show you some hidden exploit that people have forgotten about. Or maybe not.
Uh-uh.
So where's my gear? Okay. Using some electricity. This one. Yeah, so I think I'll play some Assassin.
Ooh,
Assassin is
okay.
Assassin is it's not the best 1v1 class, I think, but I think it's the best out of the ones that I enjoy. So there's some maybe like I think Operative is probably better. Madness Talk is also very strong.
Yeah, Madness Talk is good. I've enjoyed playing
Cool.
this expansion.
Who wants to see that? No one wants to see Madness Talk.
Yeah, they do.
They do?
Yeah, they do.
It's so boring. Always when I play it, after 2 games, I have to log out. It's just dot, force lightning,
Yeah.
demolish.
It can be a bit monotonous. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you come with Assassin, are you using Hatred, Deception?
No, I'll be Deception, yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Because if I play Hatred, you just you can pop your Enraged Defense and get a free heal to full, right? I guess how that
Maybe.
works. I don't want that. So I'll show you the power of deception. Okay, here we go. This is the gear. So I'll check my build. Looks pretty good.
And are you
Okey-dokey.
going
Where
to
are you?
use 2 clocks, or what's your tactical?
Yeah, 2 cloaks I think is the best.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm playing 2 cloaks. Are you on some stronghold? Want to do it on Rishi?
I just went to the fleet. My character name is Imperial Central. Space in the middle.
Okay. Well, I can invite you here. I have a little dueling arena set up.
Excellent.
Haven't used that in a long time though. So stronghold. I don't have permission to invite players on my own guild stronghold. Wow. Okay, we'll go to my personal stronghold then.
Nice.
Someone in the guild has degraded me to recruit. That's
Brutal.
unfortunate. Okay. So let's see. Stronghold, invite Imperial Space
Yes.
Central?
Yes.
Okay, let's see.
Excellent.
Send away my companion. Okie dokie.
See, what's good about this stronghold for you is that there are no over precarious cliffs or anything that I can push you off.
PvP area, yeah, exactly. So basically, This is the arena, right? You have like this guy in the middle here.
Okay.
Pelusia Stato, so you can use for intercede and stuff like this to give you a little bit of an advantage if you play Juggernaut. And then you have some boxes, I guess, that you can use to hide. Like if you play ranged. I don't know. It's a simple setup, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty neat idea to use the NPC in the middle. I actually moved my intercede off the thing just because I didn't think I was going to need it here, but I guess I will. I'm going to put it there.
Okay, let me know if you're ready.
I believe I'm ready.
Okie dokie. So you're running Mad Dash, yeah? You're going to get me out of stealth?
I changed my mind.
Okay, pop the stacks. So I'm gonna run. Actually, I don't have my second cloak. Why not? I didn't wait long enough. But you have a cooldown, right? So I'm just gonna wait now. Maybe until the white bar. Open again. And you're dead. Yeah, so that's how that goes.
Yep. I had a feeling that was what was going to happen.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I actually only have one cloak in that one, so I was a bit monk-ass, as they say nowadays. But yeah.
I was wondering if my med pack and adrenal would work there, but I guess not.
Yes, you can. Look, medpack. Up.
Oh, I guess you just killed me too quickly then. I guess that's what that was.
Yeah, I think you can use the Warzone medpacks and the adrenal here.
Yep.
So that works. I'm not sure about the PvE stuff. I think the PvE stuff doesn't work, right? So there's the critical adrenals that you use in raids and stuff.
Yep.
And I think those don't work here. It's like those don't work in the Warzones either. So yeah. But actually, I think you actually didn't play that well. Didn't play that bad, because what most people do wrongly, like in the opener, is when the Sin opens them, they break like one of the first two hard stuns, right? So that's a little tip, like don't break this one and don't break this one, because afterwards you get this one.
Yeah.
And this is the long one, right? So most people, they make the mistake, and then if they break that one, then they basically lose 3/4 of the health bar, and then it's game over, because what happens then is you need to pop your big defensive, and I can just use one of my 2 vanishes.
Yep.
And can even like zap you, and then you can't even gain any health back. So it's probably the easiest matchup that you can play.
Yep. To be fair, my plan didn't really go too much further than survive the stuns, use a big defensive, he will move away, and then from there, fuck knows. Probably gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I went for the force choke. I don't know if that was going to be very useful. So you didn't break it at the very least. So I was able to up and up, but yeah, that was it.
I mean, in general, you don't want to use your breaker unless you really have to, right?
Yes.
Because if you use it and then you don't have it anymore, for example, I can simply do this one, right? And I can just regenerate, and I can, I don't know, spit at you or something like this. Yeah,
we've all seen it happen.
You see it and then I vanish again, right? And so don't waste your breaker. Actually, Juggernaut is probably not that good against Assassin. Mercenary is probably better, because you also have a cooldown that you can pop while you're stunned, and then you also have net, which counters my force cloak, so that's nice. But in Juggernaut, it's basically you kind of either you break the opener and then use like Saber Ward.
Yep.
Or you do what you did, like you pop your enraged defense right away. And then I basically just kind of disengage, run away, wait until it times out so you don't get any heal. And then I open again, and that's hard to win, especially if you're Vengeance, right? You're playing the Smash Tactical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, this is Smash Tactical, right? Retaliation.
Yeah.
Is what I'm currently on.
For 1v1, it's not that good. Because it's for AoE, it's nice, but for 1v1 you don't want to play that. You could try the Hemophilic Slash one, but to be honest,
that's the other one I've got, actually.
Yeah. It's better. I think it's probably also not that great. Yeah, we can try another one if you want.
Yes, however, I am going to bring something else.
Sounds good. Are you gonna bring a sniper now?
No, I'm actually going to bring my Madness Sorcerer.
Madness Sorcerer. Okay, that's interesting then. I don't think I've prepared for Madness Sorcerer because in the tournament that I was gonna play, Madness Sorcerer was banned. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah. There was custom rules, so no Madness Sorcs, no operatives. And then I
Right.
thought maybe like Assassin is the next best class to play. But yeah, let's see Madness Sorc. Gonna maybe slightly change my spec. Because for Madness, right, you actually have 3 lives, which is kind of nice. Or maybe let's first play and then let's see. Let's see how it goes for me.
Get the nice off heals. Get the phase walk.
Yeah,
The
Madness
bubble.
is good.
Big bubble. Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
lot of
Madness can do anything.
survivability there. Until there isn't.
Yeah, so I basically need to kill you quickly, otherwise you're gonna win the prolonged fight because you can heal and I can't. I mean, I can vanish and yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But
Like, you
that's
don't
it.
want to get roped into a really long fight with someone in a spec like this.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, gear looks good. I'm just gonna double check my skill points.
Pleb Nation.
Yes, Pleb Nation. All one word.
Okay, we go.
Excellent. Alright. I reckon probably a similar conclusion, but at least
Let's see how
gonna
it goes. Let's see how it goes.
put up a fight
Let me
here.
know. Let me know when you're ready. Okay, face walk is down.
Alright, I'm good. I'm good.
You don't have your barrier. Ah, there you go.
Just as you said it. Oh man, as if I can't use force speed through any of that.
So I'm gonna go
Crazy.
over here. Try to get out of fight, not happening.
Understand that.
Where's your barrier?
No. I focused on running for my life, Ivanhoe. I was running for my life, dude.
Yeah, that's okay.
I have this bloodthirsty monster chasing me.
You can actually jump on these boxes. I forgot about that. So they're not actually that good for hiding unless you slow me. You can just jump over that. Yeah.
Ah, love that, love that, love that.
Did you have the flash barrier or not?
No,
Bubble's done.
I probably should have that for PvP, right?
Yeah, if you're playing against, let's say, a worse assassin, that's pretty good. But I think you can dodge it as well. Like, let me try. I haven't actually tried that in a while. Can you put it on? I just want to see if I haven't played assassin properly in year.
Yeah, let me find it. Let me find it.
I think it's level, what is it, 64?
Is it 6 4?
One
There we
of them.
I got it.
Yeah, because I think I can dodge it when I move away like this. Nope, I was too close,
Ooh.
see? I think you need to be like more than 4 meters away. But I failed. Let me try again.
Couple of seconds.
Yeah, because I want to open right with like a 4-meter attack. Yep,
Oh damn.
4.6 and still got stunned. So that's like a nice counterplay, right? Because then I get basically my opener gets ruined a little bit. You can do one of two things. I guess you can either open like with maybe discharge, I guess, from 10 meters, like this. But look, it doesn't even break it. I guess if I had Shadowcraft, it would break it. Or I simply pop Shroud. But, you know, then you make me pop Shroud, which I don't have later. So I think Bubble Stun is probably good.
Yeah, that's quite an important
Let's see.
one as well to have against some shots.
Yeah, but I can also just like step to you and move a bit and do this. Yeah.
You missed it that time.
I think Bubble Stun is still bad, to be honest. I can do this. Yeah. I know I have my Shroud still. Interrupt that. Face walk, okay. Not gonna save you. Oh, that was good. Now you want to heal. Oh, I'm not sure about the barrier.
Yeah, I wasn't totally confident in that myself.
Yeah.
I am gonna move though.
Oh, did I miss? I missed my son. That's annoying. Fuck assassins. Breaker. Interrupted. And now I don't have a second vanish because I already used it to show up. Yeah, you're doing well running. Yeah, the stun is good. But I can break that, and I still have this.
That's it.
Yeah.
Is that gonna be it?
No, not yet, but you can still run a bit. Yeah, I lived much longer this time.
Ooh.
Yeah.
A little bit more line of sight in there. Probably could have done with
Yeah,
it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the only thing you don't want to do is the barrier when I'm already rooted out of line of sight, right? Because I couldn't hit you there anyway. I'm not sure you had speed, but yeah, probably would have been better to just run away and then try to heal up or something.
Yeah, I was definitely using speed on cooldown. I could say that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, I think, right? I'm not sure. I didn't, to be honest, also, I don't play Sork. But where's the thing with the 5 seconds less cooldown on speed? Is that in the same, I think it's in the same tier as the bubble stun, right? Surging speed, I think it's called.
Let's have a look. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can have either the lower cooldown on speed, or you can have the bubble stun. So that's, yeah.
I think
the bubble
that's
stun
the one I had beforehand.
Yeah. That's pretty good. I mean, it also gives you the movement speed on polarity shift, 100% movement speed. Because, yeah. I mean, yeah, if I was you, basically in that scenario, you just need to try to lift my openers, right? Like, because Assassin actually doesn't have any damage outside of the Shadowcraft the first 6 seconds, right? So I think what you want to do when I open, and let's say I avoid your barrier, immediately either stun me, but maybe then I have Shroud running, so it's bad for you. You can pretty much just like either knockback, stun, or face walk immediately, right? Because I'm really only dangerous if I have Shadowcraft up for 6 seconds, and otherwise, you know, that's where I'm going to do like majority of my damage, right? So that's when it's the most OP class in the game, and otherwise it's kind of meh. So if you can just kite that, like with the face walk, and then for the second opener, you can even pop barrier if you're a little low, or Cloud Mind if you have it. I don't know if you run Cloud Mind.
Yeah, I've got that.
But so that's pretty good already. And then just did what you do basically, right? So knockback, try to kite, try to heal up.
Yep.
Because I had also nothing left at the end there, right? I was at 50%, but yeah, I didn't have anything left either. So you can win.
Just needed some big hits, some uptime there.
Yeah.
You had less time worrying about surviving, more time worrying about killing in those scenarios.
I mean, as long as you survive the opener, again, then you can do damage, right? But you really need to survive the opener. Otherwise, it's Deception's gonna kill you pretty quick.
Yeah. I don't mind doing another one if you want to try one more time.
I can try. Maybe I'll try some other game plan right now. Let's see. Maybe I'll try, let's say, this. Step you a little bit. Step you a little bit because your barrier is about to expire. Oh, he had it again. But I Shroud. And you should run. Yeah, good. I'll slow you. Spacewalk, nice. Now you heal, good. I use my vanish. Done you. That breaker was not good, right? Because now I can, yeah. Now you have to waste your barrier.
Yeah.
But I have another vanish.
Ah, you son
And
of a
now,
bitch.
but now you're white part. So then now you need to try to find me, exactly. Try to force storm me, get me out. That's the only chance you have. Because once your white bar is down, yeah, do that. That's good. Shit, I messed up. I'm so bad. I'm so bad. Come here. Interrupt that. Oh, I still have breaker though. Never waste your breaker. Can I jump over it? Ah!
No!
And I shroud again for the bubble stun, yeah.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah, that was nice.
You just better. You just better.
I mean,
It's a skill issue.
Played it. I've played many 1v1s, so yeah. It's
Yeah, it's good to see though. It's good to see. It's
hopefully
always
I should-
humbling as well.
Hopefully I should win. Yeah, 1v1s are nice for practice because yeah, the game is a lot different when both classes have all cooldowns, right? Like in
Yeah.
in Warzones and so on. Sometimes, you know, you don't have any cooldowns, they have all cooldowns, and then, you know, you just auto lose.
Yeah.
Or maybe like Juggernaut, for example, right? You play a lot of Jug.
Yeah, I do at the moment.
Jug's cool. But the cooldowns of Jug are actually really good in a 1v1 because they're quite strong. Like what they mitigate
Just huge
is pretty good.
cooldowns is the issue.
Yeah, very huge cooldowns, but they're exactly, the problem is they're very long, right? Like enrage defense, 2 minutes 30. If you spec into it, Saber Ward is it 2 or 3 minutes? I don't know.
It's 2 minutes
I
on
forgot,
Saber Ward, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
I think.
Like if you compare it to Power Tech, for example, right? You get your shield gets reset when you get hit, so you have it up every 45 seconds sometimes.
Yeah.
But in a 1v1, if both have all the cooldowns, it's like sometimes it's different. But you also need to use your abilities properly, right? Like in the last fight, I think you broke the second hard stun, which you're not supposed to do. So like, don't break this one, don't break this one, but break this one, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you had to use barrier, and then it was GG.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the only thing. When people see assassins, be patient, don't break too early. But some assassins, they also like they do the wrong opener, right? Which is just this one, and then they do this one, and then they burst right away. And if you see that, simply knock back, and the whole day is going to be ruined, right? Or like use a hard stun, right? Because like if you're stunned, unless you are one of those OP classes that can use a cooldown while they're stunned, unless you're one of those classes, then, you know, the assassin opener, what did I want to say? The CC opener is actually better, right? Because like if you're stunned, you can't pop your energy shield. Unless you're like a mercenary or a Juggernaut, for example, or a Sork, right? But and that's why this opener is really bad, because look, I waste all my burst on this, and now I'm CC'd for 3 seconds. And now I have this and this. Okay, great. But yeah, it's actually not that much damage, right? Because you stunned me. But if I do the other opener, which is like this one, and then you stun, and then you hit, and then you stun again, look how much more damage it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
And
a
you
lot.
can't do shit. You succeed for the whole time, right?
Yeah.
Like, so unless you have one of your 2 big cooldowns or your breaker, you're just dead and there's nothing you can do, right? So, but yeah, most assassins want to do the 100k crit opener, and the CC one is better. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Does it let me inspect you here? Why is it not letting me inspect you?
I think we need to get out of this area, maybe.
Ah. I didn't know it would do that in the PvP area. I guess it kind of makes sense. Aha.
Inspect
There we
player.
go.
Now it works again, yeah.
Very cool. Ooh, the Furious Saber Staff. Very nice.
Furious Saber Staff. This one, yeah. Season 1 represent. Was that season 1? I think it was season 1. Furious, yeah. Yeah, they made cool items back then.
So you keep your implants at 336, do you?
Yeah, because this is a PvP only character.
Right.
So yeah, there's no reason to go above. Like I said, I just have the Rakata gear because, well, we did some PvE on the augments, and I mean for PvE it's better. Also, I wanted to test if it actually gives you an advantage in PvP.
Right.
And found out it was a waste of time because it doesn't. But,
right.
Yeah, but the implants, yeah, there's no reason really to level them up. Like I need all the tech fragments I can get to save for augments because yeah, I found I think one set, and now I'm working on the second one, and now they announced that there's going to be new augments. So yeah,
it's kind of crazy that we've got new ones coming now. Going to be so expensive. So expensive.
I mean, I just wish they would have let us know ahead of time, so I could have skipped the first round of like 900,000 tech fragment farm.
Yep.
I really cannot see story mode operations anymore. It's like, yeah. And then there was the whole tech fragment crafting thing going on.
Yep.
Which they fixed now. I also didn't expect they would actually fix that because I mean, I think that mechanic was in the game for 10 years. That you could deconstruct an item from the GTN and learn a schematic or get tech fragments. Well, tech fragments were not in the game that long, but yeah, the mechanic was there.
Yeah.
And it was a way for crafting to, actually give you some more, I don't know. I guess they didn't like it, so they fixed it.
Yeah, they definitely didn't like it. They definitely didn't like it.
They did not like that. No, they fixed it the next day. I was like, released that video, and I went to the airport for my vacation, and then there was like hotfix. It was funny. Naja.
Yeah,
I
man.
don't know. Of course I didn't use it, only for science, so fine.
Only for science. It reminds me of the good old days when Nephra was soloable in nightmare mode.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, you could sit in an ops group with your friend. They could go wait outside the phase or disconnect or whatever. And those pillars, at the side of Nephra, the metal ones, like if this is the pillar here, you could stand between the pillar and the concrete of the stairs, just like this. And Nephra wouldn't be able to hit you. You'd be, like, invulnerable. So you could just be there and DPS her down the entire time.
Sounds fun. Yeah.
It was fun.
How long did it take? It probably took a while, no?
I think it took most people about 10 minutes or so to probably solo it.
Not
a long 10 minutes,
bad,
I guess, but yeah.
Okay.
I think most people would go with a Madness Sorcerer just for the sake of spamming Force Lightning.
Uh-huh.
Well, that was my tactic anyways at the time. Definitely. Hey, this has been a really good talk, though.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Again, thanks for inviting me.
Hey, no problem, man. I think we should wrap it up here, though, just so I can go get some food, I think. But we've done really good for time. Good. Like, nearly 3 hours worth of talking. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Time flies.
It does.
All right,
it certainly does.
Well, if you ever think about, doing the PvP event or something, happy to join that. Or
awesome. I will more than likely be in your ear about that.
Yeah.
More than likely.
Happy to join or help in any way.
Awesome. So, yeah. I appreciate you, my guy.
All right, man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
This guy. I need to get some links for Ivano, I think, going in the chat, which I didn't have prepared. Most people are professional and have, like, commands and stuff for the chat. Let me just go find Ivano 1337 YouTube. The copy. Okay, so if you haven't checked out Ivano before now, then this is his YouTube channel. I'm going to drop that in both chats here. There we are. He made some gearing videos. Makes PvP Warzone videos, of course. Really good. Really good. And I do think that you should go and check those out. Just gonna say a farewell in game here. Cool stronghold as well, by the way. Ivanhoe. Looks very cool. Disconnect from there. Awesome. What a chill dude. I didn't think it was going to be any different. Seems very cool to talk to. Could get more attention on PvP there for sure. That's very true, Hoff. Hoff? It's Hoff, even. Why am I calling you Hoff? Hey, I appreciate you, Rakius. Appreciate you guys being patient, by the way. I try not to answer or talk too much with the chat while we have a guest on, just so that we can actually fully focus on the guest and just sort of question them and that kind of thing. So I do apologize for what looked like ignoring the chat the entire time, but I promise you I wasn't. I've been here, I've been reading your guys' messages and seeing the vibe and stuff, and you guys have been cool. You guys have been cool, and I appreciate that. Hey, no problem, Ivanhoe. You're awesome, dude. I appreciate you coming. I think we're gonna have to definitely have you on again, especially if there is a PvP update or any type of news that is relevant. I think it would be good to have you on again and just get your perspective on that. Maybe we could even delve more into how to improve PvP next time, which would be cool. PvP event when? Unsure. I do want to do a mount-off event pretty soon, so we'll likely talk about a PvP event after that, I think. I think you're probably best off being in one of the PvP players' Discord servers for that, Rakius. So I know that Ivanhoe has a Discord server. You might be well advised to go and check that out. Your guild ship looks wicked, by the way. Hey, what's up, SWTOR Official? This was decorated by my new friend Andy, also known as Osiron in the game. And he's done an amazing job with this. We even have a secret entrance at the side here. And you can get up to the top. And you can have like a secret duel up top here. Got a nice gap in the middle. That you gotta jump over. It's pretty cool. I appreciate all the followers as well today, guys. I appreciate that. That'd be amazing for PvP. Yeah, it looks like it might be okay for some duels. For sure, for sure. Is SWTOR Official really official? No, I think that's just their name on Twitch. I don't think it's the SWTOR account, if that's what you're saying. They would never come to one of my streams. They are not cool enough to do that anymore. Had to make an emergency repair to the helmet, but should be good to go for podcast time. Fair enough, PC. Fair enough. So I want to get some food, but I feel weird ending the stream and then starting it up again in like an hour or so. Is that weird? Is that okay? Can I do that? Or should I like put up a BRB screen or something for the next 20 minutes or so? That's also weird, right? What do I do? What do you guys think? What do you think? I'm also like free rum, glasses of rum into the night. Crazy. A nice BRB screen could work. Yeah, it could. It could. Put up a video or was some? Huh? Could recap the duel. So like put footage of the duel up? Is that what you're saying? I guess that'd be cool. I didn't record it though. I mean, obviously I've got it streamed, but I didn't physically record it. Gonna make you a nice toolkit for these situations. Well, that sounds interesting. that or your YouTube videos. I guess that kind of makes sense, right? I can put up my own YouTube videos. True. True. Okay. Well, before I leave, let me just see what Olivia's doing for food. See what she says. I've just sent her a message. I watched the new episodes of Andor today. Or the first 3 episodes, anyways. Not gonna lie. Kinda boring. Kinda boring. Felt like a 3-episode wedding. Is that your opinion, Austerlitz? Interesting. Interesting. Do you think it's I mean, obviously you feel a different way about it, but I don't know, like, is it a bad thing to be in a pre-med team? Because obviously pre-meds are going to exist. For sure, for sure. I don't think there is a difference, right, Andy? I think they're both one and the same thing. Except I think in the general sense, when people refer to a pre-med, they mean a group of high-skilled players. I think. Every time you blast one of them, you get chased by 4 players. Yeah. I guess that's true, BC. Yeah, Dread does talk about being skipped, which I think does and can happen if you're in a pre-med. Right. So we've got just over an hour until the latter half of the podcast begins. So I think we will split that up into 2. So I'm just going to end the stream here. And if I see anyone cool on Twitch, then I will probably send them a raid. So thank you for everyone who joined me in this part or this segment of the stream. But we will be going live again very soon, in the next hour or so. So I will see you very soon. Yeah, dinner break. I will see you guys very soon.